Chapter 621. Traitor, how can he be so strong? Run! When the black-clothed elder saw his companion die in an instant, he hurriedly turned around and left. Don't even think about leaving. Gung Lei directly slashed out a flaming sword chi. Although the black-clothed elder dodged it, he could not dodge Lan Xian's attack. Hiss! The black-clothed elder's head was thrown into the air. Dang! However, Yi Xian did not care about his life or death. What he cared about was the universe ring of the 40% void transformation stage demon clan expert. However, when he was halfway there, the corpse was suddenly snatched away by someone else. Zhao Junbo. What the F***ck? Yi Xian cursed in his heart. Just now, he was so excited to kill that he forgot about the even more precious universe ring. At this time, all the enemies were dead. Young Hall Master, your universe ring. Zhao Junbo glanced at Yi Xian meaningfully, then rushed to Lan Xian's side and handed over the universe ring of the demon clan expert. Here you go. Lan Xian said generously. Thank you, young Hall Master. Zhao Junbo grinned and glanced at Yi Xian. Damn it! Yi Xian cursed in his heart again. If Zhao Junbo was an enemy, he would have killed him long ago. Brother Stone, what should we do now? Lan Xian asked. Since such a situation has occurred, then something similar might have happened in the other strongholds. However, we still have to take a look. Let's continue on our way. Gung Lei said. The five of them continued on their way. Yi Xian silently followed. His current cultivation level was no longer inferior to Zhao Junbo's. His strength was probably second only to Lan Xian's. Even if Lan Xian had comprehended the wings of the wind, it would not be so easy to kill him. At this moment, he was very close to the expansion of his bloodline. After another day of travel, they finally arrived at the second secret stronghold. This stronghold was on a cliff, and there was a formation at the entrance of the cave. If Gung Lei did not memorize the map of the stronghold, he would not have been able to find it. Who is it? Just as the five of them entered the cave, a loud shout came from inside. Gung Lei was very familiar with this voice. Grandfather? Gung Lei shouted in surprise. He knew that his grandfather was in the Great Desolate Land, but he did not expect him to be in this stronghold. Soon, three people walked out of the cave. One of them was Gung Lei's grandfather, Gung Feng. Gung Lei, young Hall Master, young Hall Master, young Hall Master. It's good. Good. Is good. Fortunately, everything is normal here. Gung Feng nodded and said, Greetings, young Hall Master. Grandpa Gung, are there any abnormalities here? There was a traitor in foothold number 1. It has been destroyed. Lan Xian's gaze suddenly landed on the two elders behind Gung Feng. The three of us have always been here. When we go out together. We have never been alone. Gung Feng knew that Lan Xian was suspicious, so he hurriedly explained. After all, Yi Xian had seen a monster lurking for more than 10 years. Even if they went out together, they could not keep an eye on the other two. If they were not careful, the traitor could leave a message to the monster. At this moment, Lan Xian suddenly stared at the red-robed elder behind Gung Feng and said, Elder, why is your face twitching? Everyone's attention fell on him. Indeed, when Gung Feng was speaking, the red-robed elder's face twitched. Yi Xian also saw it. Something was wrong. The red-robed elder's eyes suddenly lit up, and he directly attacked Gung Feng. Bang! Gung Feng was a veteran elder. Although his cultivation level was not high, he still had this reaction. Even if he did not notice it, how could he not be prepared since Lan Xian reminded him? Therefore, the red-robed elder was directly sent flying and crashed heavily into the stone wall. Elder, do you? Gung Feng asked in shock. The red-robed elder spat out a mouthful of blood. He did not waste time and directly shouted. In the next moment, he began to transform. A half-monster. He was a half-monster. Impossible, we've all taken the transformation pill before. Gung Feng could not believe it. Everyone watched as the red-robed elder transformed into a half-human, half-dragon creature. Are you an idiot? Of course. I only transformed after taking the transformation pill. Since it's already been exposed, then all of you can just die for me. The red-robed elder shouted and rushed over. The cave was not big, and only 3 people could walk side by side. If they fought, it would not be enough. Moreover, the half-monster had a powerful physique. If they fought here, the other party would obviously have the upper hand. Therefore, Yi Xian and the other 4 quickly retreated. Meanwhile, Gung Feng and the other elder were retreating while blocking the attacks. However, at this moment, the elder next to Gung Feng suddenly attacked. What? Gung Feng's eyes widened as he was sent flying by the palm. Fortunately, he reacted quickly and hurriedly stood up. Therefore, the palm directly sent him out of the cave. If he was hit on the wall, he would probably die. Grandfather! Gung Lei shouted. I'm fine. Gung Feng's face was gloomy. He did not expect that there would be 2 traitors next to him while he was living in danger. It was too scary. Humph, you are indeed traitors. Lon Exine snorted coldly and looked at the 2 elders who had already transformed. You knew? The red-robed elder asked in shock. Of course, I'm here to catch the traitors. Lon Exine held Silver tightly and giggled. Her words shocked Yi Xian and the other 3. Had the young palace master received permission to come here and not come here secretly? Of course, it's just a suspicion. I only have a list of suspects. You were the ones who gave yourself away, Lon Exine added. This was out of Yi Xian's expectations. It was strange. How could the daughter of the deputy hall master of the warlord palace be an ordinary person? In that case, all of you can die. The red-robed elder's eyes flashed. Since the matter had been exposed, they could only destroy the corpses and destroy the evidence. Although he and the other elder had only reached 40% of the void transformation level, they were close to 50%. Now that they had transformed, their strength had skyrocketed. Unfortunately, they had encountered Yi Xian's team. In addition to Gung Feng, they had no chance of winning in a 6-on-2 situation. Kill! Gung Feng shouted and the 6 of them instantly pounced. Chapter 622. Translator, Henyi Translations Editor. Henyi Translations divide the army into 2-inch the interspatial ring. Yi Xian quickly rushed over. This time he was the first to take the universe ring. However, he almost burst into tears the next moment. Hey, wait! These 2 universe rings need to be reported back. These 2 people are on the list. Lon Exine suddenly rushed over and took the universe ring from Yi Xian's hand. Bull **T. Yi Xian cursed in his heart. However, how could he give up the interspatial ring when he had already obtained it? The moment Lon Exine took away his interspatial ring, he poured everything inside it into his devouring space. Lon Exine took the interspatial ring and said in surprise, Hey, why is it empty? She saw Yi Xian rush over immediately after taking the interspatial ring. She was not stopped by Yi Xian on the way, so she did not suspect anything. Maybe he has already hidden the items. Lon Exine turned around and left. On the other side, Zhao Junbo had a gloating look on his face because the interspatial ring he had obtained before contained many good things. However, Yi Xian's interspatial ring was empty. Even if there were items, they would have been taken away. However, he did not know that Yi Xian had already taken the items away. Ding! The host's void transformation level has increased. It is currently at 37 points. Yi Xian took advantage of the fact that there was no one around to increase his cultivation level. Then he concealed his aura. At this moment, he was even closer to exchanging for the bloodline expansion. Grandpa Gung, you should go back first. My father said that he will cancel all the strongholds and that there will be a new mission, Lon Exine said to Gung Feng. This? Gung Feng glanced at Gung Lei. When he thought that his grandson's strength had caught up with his, he nodded silently and said, Young master, you should be careful. This 5-man team was very strong. They could almost wipe out the entire periphery of the wasteland. There were not many elders in each stronghold, only 2 or 3. Therefore, Gung Feng was not worried. Then, Gung Feng left directly. This time, Lon Exine did not ask Gung Lei what to do next. Instead, she took out a sheepskin scroll and said, Brother Stone, this is the list of suspects. Shall we split into 2 teams? Young master, this. Gung Lei was shocked. One team was going to be split into 2? Their survivability was going to decrease. The 3 of you stay together. I'll take him. Lon Exine suddenly pointed at Yi Xian with her slender finger. Gung Lei raised his eyebrows and hesitated. Lon Xion's strength had already greatly surpassed his. It could be said that the four of them were burdens to Lon Xion. If Lon Xion were to bring Yi Xian along, she would be able to drag Yi Xian away even if they were in danger. Without waiting for Gung Lei's reply, Lon Xion said, "It's settled then. Brotherstone, you go to footholds 3, 4, 5, and 6. He and I will go to the rest." The Battle Emperor Hall had exactly 10 strongholds in the outskirts of the wastelands. In total, there were more than 30 elders. 30 elders seemed like a lot, but there were over 100 elders in the Battle King Hall, so it wasn't a big deal. Pah! After saying that, Lon Xion slapped Yi Xian's shoulder and dragged him away. Damn it, this girl is so swift and decisive. She actually thinks that I'm too slow. Yi Xian cursed angrily in his heart. Very soon, the two of them disappeared from Gung Lei and the other two's sight. Zhao Junbo revealed an envious expression. Lon Xion was the daughter of the Vice Hall Master. Moreover, she wasn't married yet. If he could hook up with her, he might succeed the position of Vice Hall Master in the future. He would be second only to the Hall Master and above tens of thousands of people. Yi Xian, the undying sword god is your father, right? After separating from Gung Lei and the other two, Lon Xion let go of Yi Xian and asked, "Yes, you've seen him before?" Yi Xian nodded. Lon Xion's reaction had already exposed him, but he still asked, "I've seen him when I was young. He looks very much like you. Otherwise, I wouldn't have recognized you." Lon Xion nodded and said, "Speaking of which, your father is my idol. He has been trying to break into the Sword God's palace for so many years, but he was stopped by your uncle, your mother's older brother." Indeed, Yi Xian was a very persevering person. When Yi Xian was only a few years old, Yi Chong had left. It had been more than 10 years since then, and he had been constantly trying to break into the Sword God's palace. It's a pity that the Sword God's palace isn't a place where one person can make decisions. Lon Xion shook her head. In fact, Yi Xian wanted to meet Yi Chong the most and give him the Sword God's bloodline seed. The Sword God's bloodline seed could increase one's sword skill power and comprehension by 50%. If Yi Chong could obtain it, he might be able to break through the last level of the Sword God's pagoda. However, Yi Xian was still thousands of miles away from the Sword God's palace, and he was only at the Void God realm. His father Yi Chong was at the Void God realm, and he was a peak Void God realm king. He was only one step away from the Void God realm Emperor realm. After a few seconds of silence, Yi Xian decided not to bother himself and asked, "Where are we going now?" "We're going to catch the traitor. Let's explore the 4 strongholds first," Lon Xion replied. In fact, she had her own plan, which was to complete the mission before entering the inner region of the wasteland. There would be high-level Void God realm Void God beasts and demons there. Now that Yi Xian had one less competitor, his harvest would be greatly increased. The two of them flew for a while. After that, Lon Xion felt that Yi Xian's speed was too slow, so she decided to bring him along. The Wings of the Wind was extremely fast. They only spent 2 days to cross a few strongholds and arrived at the 6th one. The 6th stronghold's Elder Wang is suspicious. You have the 8th level of the Pulsating Guardian. If you don't go up later, I will immediately help you. Lon Xion looked at Yi Xian with a mischievous smile. F***CK. Yi Xian rolled his eyes. He was actually acting as a meat shield to attract hatred. However, the elders guarding the outer region of the wasteland were all below 50% void transformation level. They were not much of a threat to him. "We're here." Lon Xion looked at a hidden cave below and said, "Forget it, when we see Elder Wang later, we'll directly attack him." "That works too." Yi Xian raised his eyebrows. "If he really is a traitor, then he will definitely fall out with me. If not, then I will just apologize." Lon Xion had a calm expression. Yi Xian was convinced, but this was indeed a good idea. In the face of death, if there was really something fishy, it would definitely be exposed. Then, the two of them landed and walked into the cave with the array formation. When the two people inside heard the commotion, they immediately rushed out. Young Hall Master? These two elders both knew Lon Xion. They were very surprised by her arrival. "Elder Wang, you betrayed my warlord Hall and colluded with the demon clan. My father sent me here today to bring your corpse back. Go." After Lon Xion finished speaking, a figure passed by him. It was Yi Xian. Chapter 623. Translator. Henyi Translations Editor. Henyi Translations Gemini Bloodline what? Elder Wang's expression changed and he quickly blocked the attack. He realized that Yi Xian was not any weaker than him. Demon Eyes. Elder Wang did not care anymore. Although he did not know how he gave himself away, he could no longer hide in the face of danger. After all, he could sense Yi Xian's murderous intent. Yi Xian's eyes were filled with murderous intent when he saw Elder Wang demonize. Heaven's crushing slash. 8 layers of Earth's pulse. A cold light flashed past. Elder Wang tried to block the attack with his sword, but Yi Xian countered his metal elemental vital energy. Bam, bam, bam. 8 muffled sounds rang out in a row as Elder Wang's sword chi instantly collapsed. Immediately after, Yi Xian's attack swept past his body. Rip. Elder Wang was directly cut into 2 halves by this sword. Without any hesitation, he directly fell to the ground. He was dead. Seeing that the person who had been with him for a few months had died, the other elder was scared half to death. This was because he had actually been with a half-demon for so long. If Lan Xian and Yi Xian hadn't come, he wouldn't have known how he would have died at their hands. After Yi Xian put away the interspatial ring, Lan Xian took out a transformation pill and threw it to him. Although this elder was not on the list of suspects, she still had to check him. This batch of elders who were stationed in the vast wilderness had taken the transformation pill before they entered the vast wilderness. They must have transformed after entering the vast wilderness. The elder caught the transformation pill and swallowed it on the spot. After a few seconds, there was no reaction. My father has removed all strongholds in the vast wilderness. Elder, please go back. We have a new mission, said Lan Xian. Yes. The elder nodded and left. As for Yi Xian, he'd already emptied his universe ring. Did you take away the items in the interspatial ring? Lan Xian suddenly asked. What? Yi Xian's body trembled. How could this girl know his secret? It's up to you whether you admit it or not. The son of the undying sword god is naturally extraordinary. You've made so many breakthroughs along the way that I can't help but suspect you. Lan Xian smiled. F***ck. Yi Xian cursed in his heart. He had deliberately concealed his aura just now, but he did not expect that he would still be discovered. She was completely different from the little girl he had seen before. The first time he saw Lan Xian was when he returned to the Champion Hall. At that time, Lan Xian was still shaking Lan Yao's arm and acting like a spoiled child. It seemed that the people of this world could not be underestimated. Don't look down on the other side just because they were naive. Since he'd already been seen through, Yi Xian wouldn't hide it anymore. However, he wasn't prepared to admit it himself. Instead, he directly swallowed the heavenly materials. Ding! The host void transformation. 40 points, that's 40%. Now, Yi Xian had finally gathered the Devour Crystal for his bloodline expansion. Ding! Gemini bloodline successfully exchanged. Do you wish to assimilate? Yes. Yi Xian replied in his mind. Assimilate. After hearing the notification, a list appeared in Yi Xian's mind. It was a list of attributes with high and low affinity. However, there was something wrong with the number of attributes. 6 attributes? Yi Xian's eyes lit up. The Earth attribute was naturally the highest. It had reached the intermediate legendary level. The second attribute was the Metal attribute. Earth and Metal were a good combination. Now that he had the Earth Pulse, if he added the Metal defense, he would become an unkillable cockroach. Furthermore, the effect of the Midas Insight was also very good. However, when Yi Xian's attention fell onto the third attribute affinity, his body fiercely trembled. This attribute had surpassed the 5 elements. Wind attribute? Yi Xian raised his eyebrows. He actually had a special attribute as well? Everyone was born with the 5 elements, but not everyone had the wind, ice, and fire attributes. He did not expect himself to have a special attribute. Ding! Please select an attribute and condense the void spirit corresponding to it. Once selected, it cannot be changed. The system notified. In fact, Yi Xian had thought of many combinations. Earth and water, dual profound powers. This would allow his attacks to be very fast, and with the binding of water, he could use the water attribute to restrain the fire attribute. The fire attribute was also very strong. His divine tree of life bloodline combined with raging flames would become a killing move. The fire clone was also very strong. He could condense a fire clone and fight like the 8 Desolation Jinn. However, rising from the ashes clashed with the divine tree of life. They both had the effect of rapid recovery. Yi Xian did not like the wood attribute because it clashed with the divine tree of life bloodline. However, when Yi Xian saw the wind attribute, he instantly forgot about the other 4 attributes and chose the wind attribute without hesitation. Ding! The wind attribute void spirit has been successfully condensed. When he heard the system's notification, Yi Xian saw that another void spirit soul had appeared in his golden dantian. Just like the earth attribute spirit soul, it was 40% void. The Gemini bloodline was formed. Haha, now that I have 2 attributes, when I understand the wings of wind ultimacy, I might be able to fight with an advanced empty god. Yi Xian's heart was already bursting with joy. However, he had to wait until he understood the ultimacy. After all, he had just condensed the void spirit and needed to understand it himself. What are you laughing at? At this moment, a clear voice entered Yi Xian's ears. Yi Xian was pulled back to reality by this sentence. He smiled and said, "Nothing. You have many secrets. You can increase your cultivation level in an instant, and you can take the items in other Qian Kuan rings. However, don't worry, I will not tell this secret to others. After all, your father is close to the palace master." Lan Xian said slowly. Palace master? Yi Xian raised his eyebrows. He knew that the palace master that Lan Xian was talking about was the main palace master of Warlord Hall and not Lan Xian's father, Lan Yao. The palace master and your father are good friends. At the same time, he is one of the palace masters of Sword God Palace. Lan Xian revealed another secret. The palace master of Sword God Palace. Yi Xian was shocked. However, what was the use of this? His father was still unable to enter Sword God Palace, right? In Sword God Palace, only empty God realm emperors are qualified to accept disciples. It is a pity that the palace master is only a peak empty God realm king and is unable to accept your father. Otherwise, your father would have been reunited with your mother. Lan Xian said again. Empty God realm emperor. Although Lan Xian did not mention it, Yi Xian thought of something. Yi Chong had obtained the inheritance of Sword God Ba Huang, but was not recognized by Sword God Palace. Did this not mean that Sword God Ba Huang was an empty God realm emperor? Chapter 624. Translator, Henyi Translations Editor. Henyi Translations Dual Attributes Father obtained the inheritance of the Sword God Ba Huang but left the Ba Huang sword to me. Yi Xian thought to himself. Yi Chong had left a letter when he was in the Dark Sun Empire. It said that Yi Xian had 2 choices. First, he could stay in the Dark Sun Empire and live the life of an ordinary person. Second, he could become stronger and look for Yi Chong. In fact, Yi Chong hoped that Yi Xian would choose the second option. Otherwise, why would he leave the Ba Huang sword with Lin Wenyue and give it to Yi Xian when Lin Wenyue met him? Father, don't worry. I won't let you down. I'll reunite you with Mother. Yi Xian swore to himself. Although he was a transmigrator, this body belonged to an unlucky person. He had to take up the responsibility since they were connected by blood. Now that he had the Gemini bloodline, he had an additional attribute compared to others. If he could comprehend the wind attribute ultimacy, his strength would increase tremendously. If he could obtain another twin life fruit, he would be able to create a clone that was exactly the same as his original body. One was the original body, and the other was the clone. If they suddenly appeared, they would definitely be able to catch the other party off guard. Oh yeah, young master, can you give me a few martial arts? Yi Xian asked all of a sudden. You want mid-level virtual god martial arts? I don't have them. There are only a few of them and my level is not high enough. It's easy for me to go berserk if I learn them, Lan Xian replied. No, I want a wind attribute virtual god martial arts that can help me comprehend the wind attribute ultimacy. Yi Xian corrected her. Lan Xian asked in surprise, Wind attribute? Aren't you of the earth attribute? Why do you want them? Does your friend have the wind attribute too? Yi Xian paused. After pondering for a while, he suddenly slashed to the side. The slash was light green in color. What? Wood attribute? Lan Xian was shocked when she saw it. However, she reacted in the next second. No, this is the wind attribute. You have two attributes. She herself was of the wind attribute, so she was naturally very familiar with this attribute. That's right, I have dual attributes because I ate a type of fruit before. I only found out afterwards that it was the twin fruit. Yi Xian made up a lie on the spot. The twin life fruit was a treasure nurtured by heaven and earth. Even Void God Realm great emperors would fight for it if they saw it. However, those were the twin fruits that had not been eaten yet. But now, Yi Xian had already eaten it and condensed the wind attribute Void Spirit. Even if an empty God Realm Emperor came, he would not be able to do anything. You have so many secrets. Anyone would be jealous of the twin fruits. Lan Xian rolled her eyes. She didn't expect Yi Xian to eat one of the legendary twin fruits. I have both the earth and wind attributes, but because I didn't have any wind attribute martial arts before, I didn't comprehend the profound, Yi Xian explained. Lan Xian paused for a moment, then took out two martial arts from her Qian Kuan ring and threw them to Yi Xian. My Wings of the Wind was comprehended from the meteor movement skill. As for this Wind Dragon Slash, it is the best wind attribute martial art in my Battle King Palace. Perhaps I can comprehend the Wind Blade profound from it, said Lan Xian. Thank you, young palace master. Yi Xian's eyes lit up. Without saying anything, he immediately learned the two martial arts. Ding! Host has learned the meteor body technique. Current proficiency is 10%. Ding! Host has learned the Wind Dragon Slash. Current proficiency is 10%. There were no changes after learning the two Void God martial arts, so Lan Xian did not notice it. Now that I know so many of your secrets, you won't kill me to silence me, right? Lan Xian suddenly narrowed her eyes and said, If I want to kill you, I need to be able to catch up to your speed. Yi Xian said with a smile. Although he had already reached 40% Void transformation, he still did not have the confidence to catch up to Lan Xian. The Wings of the Wind was too strong. Lan Xian giggled. At least you know your place. Speaking of which, when my father heard that the Undying Sword God had a son, he wanted to marry me and my sister to you. Damn! Yi Xian was shocked. Why did he always encounter such things? Lan Xian was still fine, but her sister Lan Yu was a Void God Realm king. How could he suppress her? Moreover, he already had a fiancée. Right. Have you seen the Ice Lady and Flame Emperor? Yi Xian suddenly asked. I've seen them once, but they were wearing armor, so I couldn't see their faces. However, if the two of them worked together, they would be able to threaten my sister. I heard that they have already reached the peak of the Void God Realm. Who knows, they might have already broken through to the Void God Realm king. Lan Xian was very envious. Yi Xian continued to ask, do they have special constitutions? I think so. My sister said something about Een something? Lan Xian furrowed her brows as she pondered. Yin and Yang twin constitutions? Yi Xian's body trembled. Yes. I think that's it. Lan Xian's eyes lit up. However, in the next moment, she felt that something was off. She asked, how do you know? Do you know them? Nonsense. One of them is my fiancé, and the other is my brother-in-law. How could I not know them? Yi Xian said in his heart. However, Lan Xian knew too many of his secrets. It would be better if he didn't tell her. No. I've only heard of this constitution. It is said that if they cultivate together, their cultivation speed will be extremely fast. Yi Xian shook his head. That's right. When my sister brought them back, they were only at the spirit realm. Now they are already at the peak of the Void God Realm. They are only one step away from breaking through to the Void God Realm King Realm. After Lan Xian finished speaking, her gaze fell on Yi Xian. Since I know your secret, I will also tell you a secret. The two of them are the secret weapons of my Battle King Palace. They are used to fight against Weapon King Palace's Jiang Tianjin. There's no other way. Jiang Tianjin is so powerful. He is almost on par with my father. That secret has nothing to do with me. Yi Xian's face turned solemn. Now, he was certain that the Ice Goddess and Flame Emperor were Song Sui Jing and Song Caijue. Most importantly, the two of them were brought into the desolate land by Lan Yu. It was extremely dangerous. I have to find them as soon as possible. Yi Xian said in his heart. However, what made him feel even more helpless was that he was actually weaker than the two siblings. The two of them could break through to the Void God Realm King Realm, while he was only at 40% Void Transformation Realm. The difference was too great. Alright, let's not waste any more time. Let's continue. Lan Xian did not suspect anything and left. There were still 4 strongholds that they had not visited. Thus, the two of them had to work hard. Yi Xian glanced at Lan Xian's name list and found that there were still 10 people on it. These 10 people were the sum of the strongholds that they were in charge of. 4 strongholds, 10 people. Chapter 625. Inner Wasteland. However, the more people there were, the better it was for Yi Xian. This was because Lan Xian had turned a blind eye and given everything to Yi Xian. After destroying the remaining strongholds, Yi Xian had already broken through to 50% Void Transformation. His strength was about the same as Lan Xian's. Of course, Yi Xian was still unable to see through Lan Xian's exact strength. Although it was 50%, it could be 55% or even close to 60%. Are we going back? After killing the last half-demon elder, Yi Xian could not help but ask. No, I don't want to go back. I have another plan. Lan Xian shook her head. Hearing this, Yi Xian's body trembled as he exclaimed, You can't be thinking of entering the inner regions of the wasteland? That's right. Otherwise, why would I give it to you? Lan Xian nodded. At this moment, Yi Xian realized that he had been tricked. Originally, Lan Xian wanted to find someone to accompany her into the inner regions of the wasteland. No wonder she turned a blind eye to it. It was not because she was rich and did not like it, but because it was premeditated. Yi Xian paused for a moment. At this moment, he was already at 50% Void Transformation. Adding all sorts of profound meanings, he was already able to deal with high-level Nihility God stage experts. At the same time, after a few days of practice, his meteor movement technique had reached 70% mastery, and his wind dragon slash had reached 90% mastery. His attack power was even stronger than the collapsing heavenly killing slash. Although they were all low-rank Nihility God martial arts, there was still a huge gap between them. How could the martial arts of the branch palaces be compared to the martial arts of the main palace? Furthermore, the meteor movement technique and wind dragon slash were given to him by Lan Xian. What are you still hesitating for? There are great opportunities in the inner regions of the wasteland. It is said that a twin life fruit was born there. Moreover, your wind dragon slash is fused with the 8 layers of the Earth's pulsation. I'm afraid that even a 70% void transformation expert would not dare to accept it. With me leading you, there won't be a problem. Lan Xian said, somewhat instigated. Yi Xian's thoughts would naturally not be influenced by her. After careful consideration, Yi Xian nodded. If it weren't for those spatial rings, he wouldn't have broken through so quickly. Moreover, there were many opportunities in the Grand Desolate Realm, so he might be able to catch up to Song Sui Jing and Adjudicator Song. If he was extremely lucky and obtained a twin life fruit, then he would be extremely awesome. If that's the case, shall we set off immediately? Lan Xian looked at Yi Xian and said. All right. Yi Xian nodded. This time, they might be able to meet Song Sui Jing's team in the inner region of the wasteland. At that time, they would be able to meet each other. Immediately, he and Lan Xian entered the inner region of the Great Desolation. Young Master, are there any strongholds in the inner regions of the wasteland? Yi Xian asked. No, there are too many experts from the Demon Clan. There are only a few Void God Realm Elders in Warlord Hall. If we are discovered, we will suffer a great loss. Lan Xian shook her head. Then do you have a plan? Yi Xian asked again. Lan Xian blinked her big bright eyes and said, Plan? What plan? It's good enough to come in and train. What other plans do we need? Yi Xian rolled his dead fish eyes. Even if he didn't have a plan, he should at least have a map of the inner regions of the wasteland, right? There was nothing, so he just flew blindly? Rumble! At this moment, a huge commotion suddenly came from the horizon. Someone's fighting? Yi Xian frowned. It doesn't seem like a battle between humans. It might be a void god beast. Let's go and take a look. Lan Xian looked like she wanted the world to be in chaos as she took the lead and flew in that direction. However, when they got closer, they realized that this was indeed not a battle between humans or Demon Clan. It was a battle between a big bird and a two-headed flying dragon. It really is a void god beast. Lon Exion's figure paused. These two void god beasts are probably comparable to experts at the 50% void transformation stage. I wonder what they are fighting for. After she finished speaking, she looked around and understood the reason why the big bird and the two-headed flying dragon were fighting. Yi Xian followed her gaze and found a strange grass. It seemed to be a heavenly treasure. That seems to be the transformation grass. If a void god beast eats it, it can transform into a human. Lon Exien explained. Transformation grass. This was not the first time Yi Xian had heard of this term. Previously, in the deep-sea underground palace, the ancestors of the Sea Dragon clan had eaten this thing to become a human. Don't the Demon clan have some kind of curse? Why are they fighting to become Demon clan? Yi Xian asked curiously. Yes, the Demon clan does have a curse. After becoming a human, if you want to change back to your original form, you will have to pay a huge price. Moreover, during the transformation, your speed will be greatly reduced, and you will be easily killed by others. That's why these Demon clan invaded in an attempt to find the heart of the great emperor and remove the curse. Lon Exien nodded. The heart of the great emperor? Is it the heart of an empty god realm Demon clan emperor? Yi Xian was shocked. Lon Exien said helplessly, this is just a legend like the twin fruit. How can there be so many empty god realm great emperors? The monster races in the great wilderness are very ambitious. Fortunately, the Sword God Palace is there to deter the empty god realm king-level monsters from leaving the great wilderness. Otherwise, the eastern continent would be in chaos. Are there any empty god realm emperors in the wilderness? Yi Xian asked again. Never heard of it. Lon Exien replied. Since there are empty god realm emperors in the Sword God Palace, why don't they just kill their way in? Yi Xian was puzzled. The wilderness encompassed the entire eastern mainland, isolating it from the rest of the world. As a result, the eastern mainland had been declining with each generation. They want to. However, legend has it that there is a demon clan expert in the wilderness who is more powerful than an empty god realm emperor. Therefore, the palace master of the Sword God Palace does not dare to enter rashly. Lon Exien replied. Beyond the empty god realm? What kind of realm is that? Yi Xian opened his eyes wide. His father was only a peak king of the empty god realm. He was not an empty god realm emperor. The palace masters of the Sword God Palace were only empty god realm emperors. However, there was an expert who had surpassed the empty god realm in the wilderness. If he came out, even the Sword God Palace would be destroyed, let alone the eastern mainland. I am not very sure. It is just a legend. Lon Exien shook her head. Yi Xian was silent. Although the Sword God Palace was afraid of a legend, the more powerful one was, the more one was afraid of death. At their realm, who would want to take the risk to enter the wilderness? Therefore, the Sword God Palace had made an agreement with the Demon clan in the wilderness. As long as the king of the Demon clan in the wilderness did not come out, the Sword God Palace would not attack. At that moment, the battle in front of them was coming to an end. Oh, that big bird is in trouble. The double-headed flying dragon has the bloodline of the flying dragon. It is stronger than an ordinary void god beast. Lon Exien looked at the two huge figures in the distance. There were many clans in the world, but the dragon clan was one of the top clans. A mere large bird would not be able to defeat a dragon unless it was suppressed by a higher realm. Beep! The big bird screeched at the sky. Then, its huge body fell from the sky. Plop! Chapter 626. 60% Void Transformation. Come, it's our turn. Lon Exien squinted her eyes and took out the silver sword. Ever since Yi Xian broke through to the Void God realm, he had been using the 8 Desolation sword to nurture it. He had long been prepared. Swoosh! In the blink of an eye, Yi Xian and Lon Exien dashed towards the double-headed flying dragon at the same time. The two-headed flying dragon had long since noticed the two of them. It turned its 2 heads and spat out flames and poison towards Yi Xian and Lon Exien. This double-headed flying dragon was the same as the divine core profound beast Yi Xian killed in the Great Tang Dynasty. One head was filled with flames, while the other was filled with poison. So disgusting, you should do it yourself. When Lon Exien saw the dark purple poison shooting towards her, she immediately shrunk her neck and backed off. Damn it! Yi Xian rolled his eyes. This girl was really unreliable. However, a void god beast with 50% void transformation cultivation was no threat to him. Boom! Yi Xian's entire body collided with the fireball. This scorching fireball was directly dispersed by the 8th layer of pulsating guard. He took out the dragon-slaying sword and slashed at the double-headed flying dragon. Dragon-slaying sword of 8 desolation. Dragon's judgment. Swoosh! He had comprehended the profound of strength, and with a 10% increase in strength from the beast god bloodline, the speed and power of this slash had become extremely powerful. In the blink of an eye, the sword arrived in front of the 2-headed flying dragon, splitting it into 2 halves, one head on the other. Slash! The double-headed flying dragon was instantly killed. Without hesitation, Yi Xian dashed towards the 2 halves of the double-headed flying dragon's corpse and devoured it. A void god beast had a void god soul, but it was different from a human's, as it didn't have any attribute. Ding! Host's void transformation level has increased, currently at 51 points. The system notified. Now, Yi Xian had the Gemini bloodline, but his experience was still the same as before. Every time he broke through, his Earth attribute Virtual Spirit and Wind attribute Virtual Spirit would improve, which saved him a lot of trouble. I'll give you the transformation grass too. At this moment, Lan Xian had already plucked the transformation grass. She tossed it to Yi Xian. Yi Xian did not reject the transformation grass and swallowed it whole. Not every stalk of transformation grass could transform holy beasts and void god beasts. It still depended on its age, so its value was different. However, this stalk of form transformation grass still allowed Yi Xian to raise his void transformation level to 52. This secret of yours is truly enviable. Lan Xian felt the change in Yi Xian's aura, and her eyes sparkled as she spoke. Only I can do it. Yi Xian did not explain further, even though he had been discovered by this girl. Fortunately, Yi Xian was good friends with the Battle King Hall's main hall master. Otherwise, Yi Xian might really kill him to silence him. However, if this secret was really leaked, he would have no choice but to destroy this flower. Let's go. Let's continue our journey. Lan Xian flew up again and formed her wings of the wind. Yi Xian nodded slightly. Although Lan Xian did not have a plan, this girl could not be underestimated. He guessed that Lan Xian had a place she wanted to go. Where are you going? Yi Xian followed her and could not help but ask. He still had to ask clearly. What if this girl wanted to go to some dangerous place and he was not prepared at all? Wouldn't that be very dangerous? All right, I want to go to a breeding ground. Lan Xian knew that Yi Xian had seen through her, so she explained, "This is not the first time my sister has entered the vast wilderness. She said that there is a breeding ground for the demon clan in the inner region of the vast wilderness, so I want to go and take a look." Breeding? Breeding void god beasts? Yi Xian immediately reacted. That's right. How else do you think there are so many half-demons? Lan Xian nodded and said, "Why? Are you afraid?" If you're not afraid, what am I afraid of? I just need to ask clearly. Yi Xian snorted. In terms of strength, the current him should be stronger than Lan Xian. Of course, this was only his own guess. He had never truly fought with Lan Xian before. All right, I was afraid that you would be scared. There are quite a few of those breeding grounds. The Great Wasteland is wantonly transforming us humans, so we need a large number of void god beasts. Lan Xian said. Hearing this, Yi Xian's eyes lit up. It seemed that he had found a way to quickly level up. However, the level of danger should be very high, so it was better for him to ask clearly. What's the exact strength? Yi Xian asked. There are about 10,000 void god beasts in this breeding ground. It is said that there are also demon clan experts at 60% void transformation. Lan Xian said. 60% void transformation. The corner of Yi Xian's mouth couldn't help but curl up. Although his cultivation level was low, he, who had comprehended various profound mysteries, could challenge people of a higher level. What did 60% of the void transformation count for? Let's go! Yi Xian shouted in a low voice. Then, he followed behind Lan Xian and flew in a certain direction. The meteor movement technique that he had learned was a relatively special martial art that could increase the speed of flight. Therefore, he was also constantly observing Lan Xian because Lan Xian was also using the meteor movement technique. However, Lon Xian had comprehended the wings of the wind based on the meteor movement technique, so it was very useful to him. Instead of cultivating diligently, it was better to find a good teacher. Ding! The proficiency of the meteor movement technique has increased. It is currently at 80%. Yi Xian stared at Lon Xian's back. Suddenly, a voice sounded in his mind. Sure enough, with someone guiding him, it was very fast. He just didn't know when he would be able to comprehend the profound meaning of the wings of the wind. After all, his martial dragon movement technique had been cultivated to 100%, but he still hadn't comprehended the earthwalking technique. The profound meaning was not so easy to comprehend. Yi Xian followed behind Lon Xian for 2 days. Then he heard waves of roars. We're here. It's over there. Lon Xian, who was high up in the clouds, suddenly descended. Then, she pointed at a black array in front of them. In the beginning, the monster clan didn't know how to cultivate. However, they had mixed into the human society and learned many things. Arrays were one of the things they learned. It's so big. Are there more than 10,000 void god beasts here? Yi Xian stared at the black array in front of them and said in shock. The array probably occupied a large area. After all, there were more than 10,000 void god beasts. The monster clan raised void god beasts in captivity and forced them to mate. This gave birth to many new species. The double-headed flying dragon was the product of the double-headed flying dragon and the double-headed serpent. If they mated with the double-headed serpent again, the number of heads might increase, Lon Xian said calmly. Mated again? Isn't that a 9-headed serpent? Yi Xian suddenly thought of the Hydra in Greek mythology. The Hydra had 9 heads. If one of its heads was chopped off, 2 more heads would grow. It was extremely terrifying. Chapter 627. Kill. There are all kinds of demons. Of course, the majority are still sky dragons. The reason why the demon clan nurtures these void god beasts is to see if they can create a new race that is comparable to the sky dragon. Lon Xian continued. Let's not talk about this anymore. What do you want to do? Yi Xian asked directly. This formation needs someone to maintain it. If we break it, then the formation will be broken and all the void god beast will run away. What do you think we should do? Lon Xian looked at Yi Xian. Since that's the case, let me go in first and kill all these void god beast. Yi Xian could not wait any longer. Unexpectedly, Lon Xian was not prepared to enter. You can go in by yourself. I'll keep watch for you outside. Lon Xian took out the small silver sword. Yi Xian paused for a moment, a little worried about this little girl. However, he thought about how Lon Xian had comprehended the wings of the wind. Even a 70% void transformation stage demon clan expert would not be able to catch up to her. Then be careful. Yi Xian reminded him and then quickly descended. Although this formation is big, if it is broken slowly, it will definitely attract the attention of the demon clan experts. It's better to break it in an instant. He landed on the ground and slashed his sword at the pitch-black formation in front of him. 90% mastery of the Wind Dragon Slash. Bam! The green true energy condensed into a dragon head and collided with the array, instantly creating a hole. Then, Yi Xian quickly drilled in. He had just passed through the array when he smelled a stench. He finally understood why Lon Xian did not come in. To put it nicely, this place was a farm to cultivate a new race. To put it bluntly, it was a pigsty. The void god beast's intelligence was not inferior to that of humans, but they still could not speak. Moreover, with the deterrence of the demon clan experts, they did not dare to act rashly. After Yi Xian entered, he looked around and saw several void god beasts. Kill! At that moment he charged out. This was a treasure trove for leveling up. Although the strength of these void god beasts was not comparable to the double-headed flying dragon he had encountered before, they were superior in numbers. Moreover, on land, he would probably be able to exchange blows with an expert at the 80% void transformation stage. He hadn't caused much of a ruckus just now, and the demons guarding the plantation might have gone on a stroll, so his operation this time was very smooth. Ding! Host's void transformation level has increased, currently at 53 points. Ding! Host's void transformation level has increased, currently at 54 points. Ding! Host's void transformation level has increased, currently at 55 points. Yi Xian's realm began to rise continuously. At the same time, the number of void god beasts in the Yao clan's farm was rapidly decreasing. Although Yi Xian did not calculate, he estimated that there were at least 3,000 to 4,000 of them. However, such a large number of deaths directly attracted the attention of the monstrous clan's experts. What? A human actually came in? The demon race experts who were chatting in the air suddenly trembled. Then they turned around and flew down. According to Lon Xian's information, there was a 70% void transformation stage expert in this breeding ground. But that did not mean that he was the only one. These 3 demon clan experts were all around 50% of the void transformation stage, and the strongest was only 55%. You finally discovered me. Yi Xian narrowed his eyes and continued to kill the void god beast. After the 3 demon clan experts landed on the ground, he suddenly turned around and charged over. On land, his fighting strength had increased by at least half. Great collapsing heaven-killing slash. Great earth pulse. Whoosh. Although the demon clan's physique was strong, Yi Xian's physique was not weak either. Furthermore, he had comprehended the profound mysteries of strength, and coupled with the advancement of the beast god's bloodline, the speed of his slash was extremely fast. Swish. By the time the 3 demon clans reacted, the slash had already arrived in front of them. This slash was horizontally slashed out. If the 3 of them were not on guard, they would have been instantly killed. Bam! The 3 of them worked together and instantly dispersed the slash. However, in the next moment, there was an even stronger attack coming from behind. 8 Desolation Sword Technique. Sword Break 8 Desolations. Just as the 3 demon clans dispersed the great collapsing heaven-killing slash, the 8 sword beams converged, condensing into an even more powerful slash. Slash. This gigantic sword gleam swept through the bodies of the 3 demon race beings, killing them in a single strike. The sword slashing 8 desolations required all of the genuine qi in one's body. However, Yi Xian had the Tree of Life, so he would be able to recover to his peak in a few seconds. TSK. Yi Xian grinned and walked over. These 3 demon clan experts had died too miserably. No, it should be said that Yi Xian's current strength was too strong. Ding. Host's void transformation level has increased. Currently, it is 58 points. His realm had soared up another level. After killing the 3 demon clan experts, Yi Xian did not stay any longer and continued to kill the void god beast. This was a treasure trove for leveling up. The demon clan had spent a lot of effort to catch so many nihility beast, and now it was all his fault. If he killed all the nihility beast here, he might be able to level up to 60% void transformation. Very quickly, there were only 10% of the void god beast left. Just as Yi Xian was about to kill them all, the formation that enveloped him was suddenly broken. What's going on? Yi Xian raised his eyebrows. It would not be easy to break through such a large formation unless one found the base of the formation. Rumble. A loud sound came from the distance. Yi Xian frowned. Could it be that it was that girl, Lon Xian, who did it? At that moment, he quickly rushed over. When he got closer, he saw that it was indeed a young girl wearing light blue clothes fighting with a golden dragon. If the golden dragon was from the demon clan, then it would be a metal attribute void god soul that was perfectly countered by Yi Xian. Lon Xian held onto the sword in her hand and did not attack. When she saw Yi Xian, she immediately shouted, "Yi Xian, I'll leave this guy to you." Yi Xian raised his eyebrows. How lazy was this girl? However, he also understood that this golden dragon should be that 60% void transformation level expert. 8 Desolation Dragon Slaying Sword, Dragon's Judgment. Yi Xian took out his 8 Desolation Dragon Slaying Sword and then fiercely slashed down. After comprehending the profound mysteries of power, whether it was his attack speed or the speed of his slash, it had greatly increased. This slash instantly swept to the side of the golden sky dragon. At first, the golden dragon was played with by Lon Xian and was very angry. Now, there was another Yi Xian, so it chose to ignore him. However, his disregard caused him to suffer a huge loss. Bam! The dragon's judgment directly entered the golden dragon's body. The wound was instantly shaken by the 8-layer earth pulse, causing flesh and blood to fly everywhere. Yi Xian had the sword god's bloodline in his body, which increased the power of his sword skills by 50%. The beast god's bloodline also had the beast king's deterrence by 20%. In addition to the dragon's judgment and the 8-layer earth pulse, his attack power against dragons was simply explosive. Chapter 628. Translator, Transin Editor. Transin deep in the wasteland? If that slash had landed on the golden dragon's head, it would have been killed instantly. However, that was not the end. The dragon's judgment was not a sword that could pierce through everything. How could Yi Xian only use one slash? Bang! 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 Slash after slash of dragon's judgment landed on the golden dragon's body. In an instant, the golden dragon was on the verge of death. Go to hell! At that moment, Lan Xian suddenly appeared in the air above the golden dragon and took the opportunity to slash out a green slash. Swish! The golden dragon's head was chopped off and it died on the spot. Yi Xian was helpless. Why was this little girl like this? She even stole his kill? Fortunately, he did not rely on killing to level up. Instead, he relied on devouring to level up. Thus, it did not matter who killed him. The corpse is yours. Lan Xian kept the corpse in her hand. Yi Xian did not hold back and caught the dragon's head and body in the air. Then he took out the universe ring and devoured it. Ding! The host's void transformation level has increased. It is currently at 60 points. As for the dragon's corpse, there was no need to keep it. Alright, we've cleared this breeding ground. Shall we go to the next one? Lan Xian said to Yi Xian. Alright. Yi Xian nodded. Now, his cultivation level was finally higher than Lan Xian's. He had already reached 60% of the void transformation level. After a while, he might be able to challenge experts at the peak of the void god realm. At that time, he should be able to do whatever he wanted in the inner region. The wasteland was divided into 3 parts. The outer region, the inner region, and the inner region. At that moment, they were in the inner region. The young master of the Warlord Hall, Lan Yu, and the 2 siblings were in the inner region. I have to break through quickly and enter the inner region. Yi Xian narrowed his eyes as he thought to himself. Then, he continued to follow Lan Xian to the next breeding ground. However, this time, he realized that Lan Xian's flying speed was faster. It seemed that she was hiding her strength. There were many breeding grounds in the goblin race. Although Lan Xian only knew a few, it was enough for Yi Xian to break through. Moreover, there was a protective formation around the breeding ground. Even if they walked around, they would be able to find it. After 2 days of travel, the 2 of them arrived at another demon clan breeding ground. This breeding ground was the same as before, guarded by a 60% void transformation stage demon clan. Yi Xian took over the entire breeding ground in no time. Then they continued on their way. Lan Xian only knew of 4 breeding grounds. By the time Yi Xian destroyed all 4 breeding grounds, his realm had already increased to 65%. Alright, all 4 breeding grounds have been destroyed, Lan Xian said as she looked at Yi Xian flying towards her. Is that it? Yi Xian frowned. He thought there were more, but he didn't expect there to only be 4. Yes, I do know one more, but that breeding ground is very big, and it is said that there are experts at 80% void transformation stage, or even 90%. Can you handle it? Lan Xian looked at Yi Xian. 80% void transformation. Yi Xian repeated in his heart. Now that he had reached 65% void transformation, with the addition of various profound mysteries, he could solve it. However, he was not confident that he could reach 90% void transformation. Furthermore, Lan Xian's cultivation was too low. If he were to go out and fight, he wouldn't be able to take care of Lan Xian. Lan Xian seemed to have seen through Yi Xian and said, "Don't worry about me. Do you really think that I'm only at 50% void transformation?" Hearing this, Yi Xian raised his eyebrows. Sure enough, this Lan Xian was hiding her strength. No wonder she was able to accelerate without limit. Then your specific realm. Yi Xian could not help but ask. Feel it for yourself. Lan Xian did not answer directly. Instead, she released her aura. After Yi Xian felt it, his entire body trembled. This aura was at least 80% void transformation. Good heavens! Yi Xian's heart skipped a beat. Lan Xian was not at 50% void transformation, but 80% void transformation. It turned out that Lan Xian was just casually spouting nonsense that day. What half of the Nihility God Stage King? In the next moment, Yi Xian smelled a dangerous scent. This little girl was not simple at all. At least 80% void transformation. With the wings of the wind, She can already traverse the inner region. Her goal is probably not the inner region, but the depths. Yi Xian thought in his heart. Lan Xian looked at Yi Xian and laughed. You guessed right, my goal is the depths. However, it's very boring for me to go in alone, so I came to find you. Damn, this girl is too scheming. She won't even know if she gets caught. Yi Xian thought in his heart. A 16 or 17-year-old girl actually had such a scheming mind. It was simply heaven-defying. However, Yi Xian really wanted to enter the depths because Song Suijing and Song Jieyu were inside. However, his current cultivation was not high enough. If he were to enter, he had to have the strength to protect himself. I can go with you into the depths of the Great Wasteland, but there's a condition. Yi Xian said. What? Lan Xian was somewhat curious. I need some time to improve my meteor movement technique and wind dragon slash. I need to have the ability to protect myself. Yi Xian replied. When Lan Xian heard this, she snapped her fingers and said, Isn't that simple? My 2 martial arts have already been trained to 100% mastery. Later, when we find a place, I'll show it to you. However, whether or not you can learn it will depend on your own aptitude. Alright. Yi Xian's eyes lit up. Right now, he already possessed the wind attribute void spirit. If he were to comprehend the wings of the wind, then his fighting strength would greatly increase. Even the wind blade was not bad, it could also increase his attack strength explosively. Although Lan Xian was only 16 or 17 years old, the one who reached the top was the teacher. Even if she was an 8-year-old child, as long as there was a place for Yi Xian to learn, Yi Xian would not mind. What integrity! Could it be used in battle? Then do you want to learn first, or go to that big breeding ground first? Lan Xian continued to ask. Learn first. Yi Xian solemnly replied. Although the big breeding ground could increase his void transformation level by 10%, if he were to comprehend the profound, his fighting strength would increase even more. Then let's find a place. Since you were able to improve your wind dragon slash and meteor movement technique to 90% mastery in such a short time, your aptitude is not low. Who knows, you might be able to comprehend the profound. After Lan Xian finished speaking, she spread her wings and left. Yi Xian hurriedly followed her. Lan Xian's cultivation level was already the same as Elder Li's, but her strength was stronger than Elder Li's. If Yi Xian comprehended the profound of wind, then the 2 of them would be fine as long as they did not encounter any void god realm kings. Soon, the 2 of them found a remote place. Yi Xian was undergoing his second special training. Continuously learning martial arts was a very boring thing, but if the 2 of them were to train together, it would be much easier. Chapter 629. Translator, Henyi Translations Editor. Henyi Translations Underground Movement Technique. Lan Xian's cultivation level was higher than Yi Xian's, and she had the wings of the wind. If she unleashed her full speed, Yi Xian would not be able to catch up with her. Therefore, she could only use the meteor movement technique instead of the wings of the wind. Yi Xian was observing Lan Xian's movement technique as he fought with her. Even if he did not comprehend the profound this time, it was not bad that he had improved the 2 martial arts to 100%. Lan Xian had comprehended the wings of the wind when she had improved the meteor movement technique to 100%. When a martial arts technique was improved to 100%, it would comprehend the profound in many cases. Therefore, Yi Xian was wondering if he could use this opportunity to comprehend the profound. Their training lasted for 3 days. During these 3 days, Yi Xian kept fighting with Lan Xian and improved the meteor movement technique to 100%. However, the wind dragon slash did not improve at all. This was rare. After all, he had the bloodline of the sword god, which gave him a 50% increase in comprehension. What was even more frustrating was that Yi Xian did not comprehend the wind acceleration profound after he had improved the meteor movement technique to 100%. Therefore, Yi Xian did not use the meteor movement technique anymore. Instead, he used the martial dragon movement technique to fight with Lan Xian on land. However, not long after the meteor movement technique had a breakthrough. Whoosh! Suddenly, the sound of wind whistling could be heard. Lan Xian had casually slashed out a slash. However, this slash was several times more powerful than the previous one. It should be known that this was just a sword chi that she had casually slashed out. Oh no! Dut! Yi Xian was stunned. By the time he reacted, the sword chi was already in front of him. This is the wind blade profound? Yi Xian widened his eyes as he watched the slash coming closer and closer. Lan Exine had comprehended the wind blade profound at this time? However, he did not have time to care about this. This sword chi was extremely powerful. If he did not dodge it, he might be cut in half. If his heart and head were injured, even the bloodline of the divine tree of life would be useless. This slash was extremely fast. He could only dodge it because he did not have enough time to use the Okang shield. Bang! Yi Xian took a step forward and used the martial dragon movement technique to dash to the left. Ding! Host has comprehended the profound meaning of the earth-traversing technique. A notification suddenly sounded. In the next moment, a clear and loud sound was heard. Hiss! The sword chi attack, which contained the wind blade profound, swept past Yi Xian's shoulder and directly cut off his right shoulder. In that instant, Yi Xian smelled the scent of death, but at this critical moment, he actually comprehended the profound meaning of the earthwalking technique, and his speed suddenly increased dramatically. Plop! The severed arm fell to the ground. Yi Xian and Lan Exine were stupefied. The two of them had comprehended profound meanings one after another. Lan Exine had comprehended the wind blade profound while Yi Xian had comprehended the earthwalking profound. Are you okay? Lan Exine came to her senses and quickly landed in front of Yi Xian. At their level, it was common for experts to lose their arms and legs. However, the stronger they were, the more difficult it was to recover from their injuries. Therefore, they needed high-grade healing medicine. Fortunately, Lan Exine was the daughter of the Deputy Hall Master of Warlord Palace. She had many good things. However, Yi Xian did not need them. In the blink of an eye, Yi Xian grew a new arm, but his clothes could not be restored. This? Lan Exine instinctively stepped back. She had seen Yi Xian grow an arm with her own eyes. At this moment, she glanced at the arm on the ground. It had turned into mud. When she saw this, Lan Exine's first thought was that Yi Xian had a third type of void spirit, the wood elemental void spirit. Rapid healing? No, this is rejuvenation. Lan Exine exclaimed. Rejuvenation? Hearing this, Yi Xian shook his head and said, I don't have a wood elemental spirit. This is just my physique. The wood elemental void spirit had a rapid healing profound that could heal injuries quickly. At the same time, it had a second-level profound, which was rejuvenation. Although it did not have the effect of rejuvenation, it could regrow flesh and bones. In other words, it could regrow a broken arm. Nonsense! If this isn't rejuvenation, then what is? Lan Exine did not believe him. The twin fruits are so rare. Do you think I ate two at once? Yi Xian shook his head and said. Lan Exine was stunned. Even she had never heard of the twin fruits. They only existed in legends. It was impossible for Yi Xian to eat two at once. Then why can't you use up all your true qi? The earth elemental void spirit and wind elemental void spirit won't help you recover your true qi faster. Lan Exine asked. I told you it's my physique. Anyway, I don't have a wood elemental spirit. If I lie to you, I will never be able to break through to the void god realm. Yi Xian did not want to talk too much about this topic. TCH, there are many people who can't break through to the void god realm. Lan Exine rolled her eyes and asked again, You really don't have three types of spirits? Yi Xian shook his head and said, No. If I ate two twin fruits, I would definitely condense a metal spirit instead of a wood elemental void spirit. Hearing this, Lan Exine felt that it made sense. Yi Xian had already comprehended the 8th level of the Earth Pulse. If he also comprehended the metal defense, his chances of survival would increase greatly. Now that he also had the Earth Movement technique, as long as he did not run into a Void God Realm King, he would definitely be fine. If Lan Exine had to choose, she would indeed choose the Earth Elemental Spirit and the Metal Elemental Spirit. All right, I'll believe you for now. Lan Exine pursed her lips and said, I just comprehended the Wind Blade Profound. I need to comprehend it myself. All right. Yi Xian nodded his head. Not only did Lan Exine want to comprehend it, but he also wanted to try the Earth Movement technique. Just now, at the critical moment, he had comprehended the Underground Movement technique. Otherwise, he might really have been killed by that attack that contained the profound meaning of the Wind Blade. Fortunately, the heavens were looking out for him. After Lan Exine left, his figure flashed. His speed was twice as fast as before. I've advanced my agility 3 times. Now that I have the earth movement technique, I won't be in any danger on land, Yi Xian thought to himself. Although he had not comprehended the wind wings, which was the wind acceleration technique, he had comprehended the earth movement technique. The earth movement technique had a second level of earth movement technique, which was called earth shrinking. This profound was very powerful and allowed one to travel through the ground. If one used the wind wings to travel, they might be discovered. But who would drill into the ground? Yi Xian tried the earth movement technique again. He found that the earth movement technique was too awesome. His speed on the ground was almost comparable to Lan Xian's flying speed in the sky. Should I find this little girl to fight later? He thought to himself. However, in the end he decided against it. There was no point in fighting like this. The two of them would definitely go easy on each other. After all, this was not a battle to the death. It was better to find a demon. Chapter 630. Translator, Transin Editor. Transin Great increase in strength. A day later, Lan Xian had finished comprehending the wind blade ultimacy and could use it proficiently. Her current attack power was at least twice as strong as before. The wind acceleration and wind wings gave Lan Xian the strength of an invincible void god. I never thought that I would comprehend the wind blade ultimacy at this time. I have to thank you for this. After seeing Yi Xian again, Lan Xian thanked him. Of course, there was also a trace of shame because she had almost killed Yi Xian by accident. Let's not practice anymore. Let's go to the farm. I have also comprehended the earth movement technique. It is enough to protect myself. Yi Xian said. Pulse of the earth, pulse of protection, ultimacy of power and earth movement technique. In total, he had comprehended 3 earth ultimacies and 1 level 2 ultimacy. Even if he was at the peak of the nihility god stage, Yi Xian still had the guts to provoke him. Since that is the case, let's go. Lan Xian formed a pair of green wings and turned to leave. As for Yi Xian, he was running wildly on the ground. His speed was not slower than Lan Xian's. Lan Xian, 80% void transformation level. Yi Xian, 65% void transformation level. Although there was a difference of more than 10 levels between them, Yi Xian had the enhancement of his bloodline. When he ran at full speed, his speed was slightly faster than Lan Xian's. This guy, how many secrets does he have? He is even faster than me. Lan Xian did not understand. In her heart, Yi Xian was an extremely mysterious person. Dual attributes, rejuvenating body constitution, rapid breakthrough, emptying of universe ring in an instant, etc. These were not things that ordinary people could do. This time, they had only traveled for half a day before they saw the large farm. There were not many such large farms in the wasteland. The void god beasts there were very powerful and there were more than 100,000 of them. Originally, with so many void god beasts gathered together, there would be frequent riots. However, surprisingly, these void god beasts were very well behaved. After all, there was once a void god realm king from the demon clan who had arrived and severely intimidated them. If there were any troublemakers, they would be killed on the spot. Therefore, these void god beasts could only obediently stay in their own territories. At this moment, Yi Xian and Lan Xian had already arrived in front of the pitch-black array formation. Just like before, you settle it yourself. I'll watch. After Lan Xian finished saying those words, she rose into the sky. This girl is really lazy to the extreme. Yi Xian rolled his eyes. However, this was also good. He could do it himself, and perhaps he could comprehend the profound meaning along the way. Kill! His eyes flashed, and he immediately unleashed a full-power wind dragon slash on the formation. Boom! A large hole appeared in the formation, and Yi Xian charged in. In this large breeding ground, the number of void god beasts was large, and their cultivation was also high. Yi Xian had been impatient for a long time. Against these low-level void god beasts, using the 8 desolate wind slaughter array was the best method. 8 sharp blades that contained the 8 great waves of the earth could instantly pierce into the head of a void god beast and kill it. This was very efficient and could save a lot of time. Yi Xian killed while collecting the corpses. His realm continued to rise. Ding! Host's void transformation level has increased. Currently, it is 66 points. Ding! Host's void transformation level has increased. Currently, it is 67 points. Ding! Host's void transformation level has increased. Currently, it is 68 points. Due to the large number of void god beasts, Yi Xian's killing speed did not attract the attention of the demon clan. Over time, it was difficult for the demon clan not to discover him. Is it someone from the 3 great imperial halls again? You're courting death. A few demon clan members discovered Yi Xian and immediately rushed down. However, Yi Xian had already discovered them. He immediately retracted his 8 sharp blades and slashed out with his sword. 8 Desolate Sword Technique's third move. First move, 8 Desolate Sword Technique. After being enhanced by the profound meaning of power, the speed of the slash was at least twice as fast. This slash instantly split into 8 and then merged back into 1, killing 3 demon clan members who had reached 60 to 70% void transformation on the spot. Universe Ring. Yi Xian quickly rushed over. The void god beast had a lot of experience, but how could it compare to these demon clan? These demon clan members lived in the great wasteland all year round. There were countless heavenly and earthly treasures in their universe rings, so their value was much higher than the void god beast. A single universe ring was probably worth tens of thousands of void god beast. Ding. Host's void transformation level has increased. Currently, it is 69 points. Ding. Host's void transformation level has increased. Currently, it is 70 points. Ding. Host's void transformation level has increased. Currently, it is 71 points. The 3 universe rings caused Yi Xian's void transformation level to soar by 3 levels. He wondered if the void transformation level would increase to 75% after devouring the void transformation level of the demon clan. Hua! At this moment, the array formation was suddenly broken. Obviously, this was Lan Xian's doing again. Rumble! The roar of a heavenly dragon came from the horizon. It must be Lan Xian fighting with that demon clan expert. Immediately, Yi Xian hurriedly ran in that direction. When he got closer, he saw 2 figures, one big and one small, fighting in the air. No, Lan Xian was still the same as before. She only held the small silver sword and did not attack. Roar! This sky dragon was actually a rare blue sky dragon, so it was of the water attribute. However, it didn't matter. After all, as long as it was a dragon, it was fine. He's at 80% void transformation level. Kill him and we'll enter the depths of the great wasteland. Lan Xian dodged while shouting at Yi Xian. 80% void transformation level. Yi Xian had already reached 70% void transformation level, so there was no suspense in this battle. 8 Desolation Dragon Slaying Sword. Dragon's Judgment. 8 Desolation Dragon Slaying Sword. Dragon's Judgment. 8 Desolation Dragon Slaying Sword. Dragon's Judgment. One attack after another landed on the blue sky dragon's body, instantly dealing a large amount of damage to it. Although its speed was fast, its body was too big. Furthermore, Yi Xian still had the profound meaning of strength, so he couldn't dodge at all. In order to make it easier for Yi Xian to deal with him, Lan Xian deliberately lured him to transform. This way it would save more time. Roar! When the blue sky dragon saw that it couldn't defeat both of them, it hurriedly turned around and ran for its life. I'll use this move to deal with you. 8 Baron's Sword. Yi Xian's eyes flashed. The true qi in his body was instantly sucked dry. He directly slashed at the blue sky dragon's back. Rip! A loud and clear sound rang out. The blue sky dragon's head was cut off like tofu in an instant. Then, he quickly rushed over and took the yin and yang ring that was hidden in the dragon's mouth. Ding! The host's void transformation level has increased. Currently, it is 75%. His cultivation level soared. 75%. Another 25%, and I might be able to break through to the void god realm. Yi Xian's eyes lit up. Chapter 631. In the depths of the desolate land. Let's go to the depths of the desolate land. Yi Xian was bursting with confidence. Even if he encountered a peak void god realm expert, he might be able to kill him. Lan Xian frowned and said, "Why do I feel like I'm not the one pulling you along? Do you want to go to the depths of the desolate land as well?" "That's right." Yi Xian nodded. Lan Xian did not ask any more questions. She thought that Yi Xian had entered the desolate land to increase his level. Since that's the case, let's go. I wonder if we'll be able to meet my sister. Lan Xian led the way in the sky after speaking. Lan Xian's sister, Lan Yu, had already broken through to the Void God realm. However, there were many Void God realm experts in the depths of the desolate land. Hence, Yi Xian was very worried. I hope nothing bad happens to her. Yi Xian thought for a moment before following Lan Xian. The inner area of the desolate land was very big. Although Lan Xian knew the route, she and Yi Xian had to travel for 7 days before they finally entered the depths of the desolate land. The desolate land was a mysterious place. There were countless dangers in the depths. Even Void God Realm experts would be in danger of dying even if they did not encounter any Void God Realm experts. Most importantly, it was extremely easy to get lost in the depths of the desolate land. There seemed to be a huge illusion array here. You have to follow me closely. I heard from the palace master that there is a huge illusion array in the depths of the desolate land. If you accidentally fall behind, you might not be able to encounter it. Lan Xian could not help but remind him as they entered the depths of the desolate land. She then took out a map and handed it to Yi Xian. This is the map. If we get separated, you can go out by yourself. Of course, if you comprehend the shrinking ground, you will be able to go out easily. Yi Xian silently glanced at the map and recorded it into the devouring system. The small team that had entered the depths of the desolate land was almost all peak Void God Realm experts. The weakest one was at the Void transformation stage. Furthermore, the 3 palace masters had entered together. There were many Void God Realm kings. This time, there were only 2 of them and they were not Void God Realm kings. They were indeed bold to enter the desolate land. Little girl, do you have a way to find them? Yi Xian suddenly asked. No. I'm here to try my luck. Void God Realm kings do not dare to enter the desolate land. Lan Xian shook her head. F***ck, he's really bold. Yi Xian raised his brows. He might have to pay the price of blood. The 2 of them blindly scurried around the depths of the wasteland. In this place, they didn't dare to fly at a low altitude. They could only fly in the clouds and occasionally come down to take a look. After flying for half a day, they didn't find anything. Yi Xian raised his eyebrows and asked in a low voice, "Do you know him?" Then they must be from the demon clan. I wonder if they are Void God Realm kings. Yi Xian was hesitant to reveal himself. Don't worry. There aren't that many Void God Realm kings in the demon clan. These 2 should be advanced Void God Realm kings. Let's go. We'll kill them one by one. Lan Xian hid in the clouds and flew while Yi Xian followed closely behind her. 2 demons flew below them. The 2 demons stood in the air above them, waiting for the right time to strike. Wind Dragon Slash. 8 Desolation Sword. The 2 of them used their most powerful attacks. If they could kill their opponents in one hit, they would be able to save a lot of effort. Lan Xian had already comprehended the Wind Blade ultimacy. Her full power attack could threaten Void God Realm kings. In terms of attack speed, Lan Xian's Wind Dragon Slash was slightly faster than Yi Xian's 8 Desolation Sword. Whoosh whoosh. The 2 demons heard the sound of 2 slashes tearing through the air. By the time they reacted, the attacks were already in front of them. Bam! Bam! The 2 demons were advanced Void God Realm kings and had reached 90% of their Void transformation stage. They were extremely powerful. Therefore, the 2 attacks did not kill them. They were only injured. Go! Lan Xian shouted in a low voice and quickly flew over. In the air, Yi Xian was slower and followed closely behind her. They are humans. Kill them. One of the demons shouted. Lan Xian's Wind Dragon Slash had cut off one of his arms. In an instant, the 2 of them came into contact and started to fight. We were too far away. If we were closer, we could have killed them instantly. It's a pity, Yi Xian thought to himself. However, he had reached 75% of his Void transformation stage. With the help of various ultimacies and bloodlines, he was not worried at all. The 8 Desolation Sword had drained all the true chi in his body. However, he had recovered quite a bit. He looked at his opponent and slashed out again. Collapsing Sky Kill Slash. 8 Layers of Earth Pulse. This attack was extremely powerful. Although Yi Xian's opponent had blocked the 8 Desolation Sword, the bones in his hands had been shattered. Even the Void God weapon in his hands had cracked. Faced with this attack, he could only dodge. However, as soon as he dodged the slash, he heard a whooshing sound coming from 8 directions. 8 Desolation Wind Kill Array. Bam, bam, bam. 8 muffled booms rang out in succession. The already heavily injured Fae was unable to withstand these 8 attacks that contained the power of the 8-fold throbbing pulse of the world, and his head instantly exploded. His body trembled weakly. Yi Xian quickly flew over and took his interspatial ring. Ding! The host's void transformation stage has increased. It is currently at 80 points. One interspatial ring had increased Yi Xian's void transformation stage by 5 levels. You are too slow. A clear and beautiful voice drifted over. Yi Xian turned his head to look and discovered that Lan Xian had already killed her opponent. There are many things in this ring. I will not give it to you. We will split the spoils equally. Lan Xian said. All right. Yi Xian nodded. He had collected many things earlier, but Lan Xian did not take any of them. He felt embarrassed. Now that we are in a team, as long as we do not encounter any Void God Realm Kings, we will kill them all. Lan Xian kept the interspatial ring. In the next moment, she suddenly thought of something and threw the spoils of war and her interspatial ring to Yi Xian. Help me. Lan Xian smiled as she looked at Yi Xian. Yi Xian was stunned. He immediately understood. He caught the 2 interspatial rings helplessly. Then, he used the devouring space to pour all the spoils of war into Lan Xian's interspatial ring. Finally, he threw the interspatial ring back. He did not check what was in Lan Xian's interspatial ring. After all, it was Lan Xian's possession. He was not that kind of person. Chapter 632. Translator, Transin Editor, Transin Domain, I really don't know how you did it. If you have the gold domain, you'll be in luck. Lan Xian put on her Qian Kuan ring. Gold domain? Hearing this, Yi Xian suddenly remembered the battle between Lan Yao, the Vice Palace Master of Warlord Palace, and Jiang Tianjin of the Jiang family of Tool King Palace. Lan Yao was of the gold attribute and had the gold domain. He could control all the metal weapons in his domain. It was said that Lan Hai had more than 10 specially made Void God weapons. If he was in a life or death battle, he would definitely use them to attack his enemy. Do you know what the Earth domain and Wind domain are? Yi Xian suddenly asked. Domain. After Yi Xian's reminder, Lan Xian suddenly thought of something and said in shock. Oh my god, the Wind domain is the overlord of the sky, and the Earth domain is the overlord of the ground. No matter where you go, you won't be at a disadvantage. Yi Xian's eyes brightened. This seemed to be a good sign. The Earth domain allows you to control the Earth. It can be used to attack and defend. Of course, you can also use the Earth element in the air, but it will be weaker than on the ground. As for the Wind domain, you can use it at any time. You can form wind blades in your domain, which is similar to the fire element. In addition, the Wind domain can form wind walls to defend against attacks. An expert can even create 6 strong gales in the domain to obstruct the enemy's movement. Lan Xian explained to Yi Xian. Since she was of the wind element, she knew more about the wind element. The Wind domain is so powerful? Yi Xian was shocked. The Earth domain could only be used on the ground, but the Wind domain could be used at any time. Metal, wood, water, fire and earth. You can control anything with your element. Of course, the domain is only one of the strengths. The most important thing is the profound. If you comprehend the Wind Blade profound, the wind blades in your wind domain will be very powerful. Lan Xian added. If you become a Void God Realm King, wouldn't that mean? Yi Xian frowned slightly. That's right. If I break through to the Void God Realm, my strength will be stronger than ordinary people. After all, I have comprehended the wings of the wind and the wind blades. Lan Xian nodded. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Yi Xian asked more questions about profound meanings and domains. They chatted as they flew. The difference between peak Nihility God Realm and Nihility God Realm Kings was too great. Even 10 peak Nihility gods would not be able to defeat one Nihility God Realm King. Of course, geniuses were an exception. If geniuses like Yi Xian and Lan Xian reached the peak of the Nihility God Realm, they might be able to fight Nihility God Realm Kings. Lan Xian might. But Yi Xian definitely could. However, on the first night that Yi Xian and Lan Xian entered the depths of the Great Wilderness, they finally encountered a human. Rumble! What they saw now was a battle between a human and 4 demons. Is that someone from the Warlord Palace? Yi Xian could not help but ask. After Lan Xian saw clearly, she nodded and said, "That's my cousin. He is from the first team to enter the Great Wilderness." Cousin? Yi Xian raised his eyebrows. Since that was the case, there should not be any problems. In the blink of an eye, the two of them rapidly flew over. Lan Xian took the lead and prepared to go and help. When the human youth saw Lan Xian, his despairing eyes suddenly lit up. He saw hope. He was also at the peak of the Nihility God realm. It was already very good for him to fight 1 against 4. If Lan Xian could help him share some of the pressure, he might be able to fight. There are more people? The youth saw Yi Xian behind Lan Xian and his eyes lit up. Oh no, reinforcements are here. Transform. The two peak Nihility God realm experts' faces darkened as they transformed into their true forms. When Lan Xian arrived, they had already transformed into 2 sky dragons. Both of them were of the fire attribute. Lan Xian, hold one of them back. The youth shouted. All right. Lan Xian immediately attacked one of the sky dragons. Although the demon tribe could cultivate, they could only use their ultimacy when they were in their human form. After they transformed into their true forms, they relied on their physique to fight. Their speed and attacks were greatly enhanced. Lan Xian had transformed into 85% of the Nihility God realm. Although she was very powerful, she still felt some pressure when facing a peak Nihility God realm sky dragon. However, at this moment, Yi Xian had also arrived. Dragon-slaying sword of the 8 desolation, Dragon's Judgment. Yi Xian immediately attacked the other sky dragon. This sky dragon relied on its strong physique and was not afraid of Yi Xian's attack. It immediately charged forward. However, in the next moment, Yi Xian showed him why the flowers were so red. The Beast God Bloodline, Sword God Bloodline, Ultimacy, and Dragon-slaying sword of the 8 desolation gave Yi Xian the ability to break through his opponent's defense. Not only that, he could also severely injure his opponent. Bang! The red sky dragon overestimated itself and used its claws to block Yi Xian's judgment. However, its claws were broken. Roar! The red sky dragon roared to the sky and spat out a scorching dragon breath at Yi Xian. This demon was at the peak Nihility God realm. Even a Void God realm king would be burned to ashes if he was hit by the dragon breath. I was waiting for this move of yours. Sword of the 8 desolation. Yi Xian's eyes flashed as he slashed with his sword with all his might. Swoosh! This slash was very fast. In an instant, it split into 8 parts and then merged back into 1. Its power was multiplied. This slash directly split the dragon breath into 2 and entered the dragon's head. Swish! A series of crisp sounds rang out. Half of the red sky dragon's head and a part of its body were chopped off. Dead. What? Seeing this, the young man and the other 3 demons were shocked. What kind of attack was this? After the demons transformed, they relied on their physique to fight. How could such a strong physique be killed in an instant? Was this person a Void God Realm King? Under the shocked gazes of these people, Yi Xian rushed to the side of the dragon corpse and found the universe ring. Ding! The host's Void transformation level has increased. Currently, it is 85 points. Although Yi Xian had only recovered a little of his true qi when he heard the notification, he was filled with endless fighting spirit. As long as he killed these people, he might be able to reach 90% Void transformation. Girl, go and help. I will deal with him. Yi Xian shouted to Lan Xian. Although Lan Xian was very angry to be called a girl, she did as she was told. She rushed towards the young man. Dragon-slaying sword of the 8 desolation, Dragon's Judgment. Dragon-slaying sword of the 8 desolation, Dragon's Judgment. Dragon-slaying sword of the 8 desolation, Dragon's Judgment. After a series of dragon's rulings, the red heavenly dragon was instantly heavily injured. Chapter 633. Translator, Henyi Translations Editor. Henyi Translations Empty God Realm Sovereign. Although the physique of the monster race would be greatly enhanced if they transformed into their original form, it was useless against Yi Xian. In less than 2 seconds, the Sky Dragon, who was at the peak of the Empty God Realm, was killed by Yi Xian. Ding! The host's Empty God Realm level has increased to 88 points. The system notification rang in Lin Fan's head. 2 sky dragons had been killed by Yi Xian in an instant. His strength had shocked everyone present. When the last two monster race members saw the corpse of their companion, they immediately wanted to retreat. However, they couldn't leave just because they wanted to. The two empty god realm monsters were unable to transform into their original form. Once they transformed, they would be killed by Yi Xian in an instant without the protection of their companions. In a 3 versus 2 situation, the two monster race members were surrounded and killed in less than 5 rounds. The universe ring fell into Lan Xian's hands. After all, Yi Xian had agreed to split the spoils equally with her. "Cousin, are you okay?" After the 4 empty god realm monsters died, Lan Xian could not help but ask. "I'm fine. I just used too much of my vital energy." The young man took a deep breath and shook his head. He was from the Lan family of the Warlord Hole. His name was Blue Pool. Although he was at the peak of the empty god realm, he was more than 35 years old. Hence, he was not considered a genius. "Cousin, didn't you enter the vast wilderness with my sister? Why are you here? Did you get separated?" Lan Xian asked anxiously. "Yes." The 3 Warlord Hall's teams entered together and started to fight their way through. "However, we were ambushed by the monster race experts 2 days ago. We were separated." Blue Pool shook his head. "What? Ambush?" When Yi Xian and Lan Xian heard this, they were in awe. The team formed by the 3 Warlord Halls had been ambushed? Before Lan Xian could speak, Yi Xian asked, "Where are Ice Lady and Flame Emperor?" Although Blue Pool didn't know who Yi Xian was or why Yi Xian would suddenly ask about the two of them, he still replied, "After we were ambushed, we split up and fled. However, I did see Lan Yu bring the 2 of them out of the encirclement. However, I also saw 2 Void God Realm Kings chasing after them. Moreover, the Flame Emperor seemed to be severely injured." 2 kings of the Void God Realm. The Flame Emperor was heavily injured. These 2 pieces of news were bad news for Yi Xian and bad news for Lan Xian. "Cousin, what should we do now?" Lan Xian was worried about Lan Yu and asked anxiously. "After I escaped, I was chased all the way here by a few demon clan members. Right now, the other demon clan members should be chasing after the geniuses of the 3 king palaces as well. If we were to look around, we might be able to meet some of them." Blue Pool said. "Then let's start searching in groups of 3. We're not weak. Even if we encounter a Void God Realm King, we'll be able to put up a fight." Lan Xian said. "All right." Blue Pool nodded. He knew Lan Xian's strength. Now that he had seen Yi Xian's strength, the 3 of them were indeed able to fight against a Void God Realm King. "All right, these 2 are for you. They're not of much use to me now." Lan Xian tossed the 2 yin and yang rings over. Yi Xian didn't hesitate. He caught the yin and yang rings and devoured everything inside. Ding! The host's void transformation level has increased. Currently at 90 points. His cultivation level had increased once again. Even though Yi Xian tried his best to suppress it, Blue Pool still noticed it. Blue Pool couldn't understand why Yi Xian's cultivation level had suddenly increased. "Cousin, don't worry about it. Let's go." Lan Xian dragged Blue Pool away while Yi Xian followed behind. Before Yi Xian had broken through, he was already able to kill a peak Void God Realm Demon Clan expert. Now that he had broken through, he was unrivaled in the Void God Realm. The 3 of them had a much higher chance of survival. Blue Pool left half-heartedly. However, they hadn't even taken 2 steps when 2 people flew towards them. "Are they demons or humans?" Blue Pool widened his eyes. Yi Xian was also on high alert. Even if there was only one of them, they couldn't be careless because they could be Void God Realm Kings. When Blue Pool saw the faces of the 2 figures, his body trembled violently. When Yi Xian and Lan Xian saw them, they instantly understood. Demons! These 2 were from the Demon Clan. "Be careful, they're Void God Realm Kings." Blue Pool exclaimed. "What?" Yi Xian and Lan Xian were both stunned. Were there really Void God Realm Kings? It was 1. 2 of them? Both of them. "Be careful," Blue Pool added. When they were ambushed previously, Blue Pool had seen these 2 Void God Realm Kings from the Demon Clan. Hence, he recognized them on the spot. Both of them. Yi Xian's and Lan Xian's expressions had already sunk to the bottom. It was fine if there was only 1 Void God Realm King, but now there were 2 of them. They were in trouble. "Cousin, Hurry up and give me your yin and yang rings. Lan Xian hurriedly rushed to Blupul's side. As she spoke, she wanted to snatch his yin and yang rings. What? Blupul obviously didn't react in time. However, Lan Xian was his family, so he didn't stop her. Right now, perhaps Lan Xian would have a solution. However, what Blupul didn't expect was that after Lan Xian took his yin and yang rings, she directly threw them to Yi Xian. At the same time, she threw her own yin and yang rings. This little girl's reaction is quite fast. Yi Xian also understood. He hurriedly caught the two yin and yang rings and scanned them. F***CK, what kind of wealth is this? Ding. The host's void transformation level has increased. Currently, it is 95 points. His realm instantly soared by 5 levels. Yi Xian's aura surged. In the next moment, his eyes turned pitch black. Be careful. Yi Xian shouted. 8 Desolation Spirit, appear. He summoned the 8 Desolation Spirit and quickly flew away. This time, he wanted to fight one Void God Realm King alone. As for the other Void God Realm King, he could only leave it to Lan Xian and Blupul. Although he was the king on the ground, if he flew down, what if the Void God Realm Kings of the 2 demon clans killed Lan Xian and Blupul first? Therefore, he couldn't go too far. He had to attract the attention of one of them. TSK, TSK, TSK. We've met 3 more human geniuses. One of them even has the rare wind attribute. Dang! A blue-clothed demon clan expert sneered. He directly activated his domain and used his true chi to manipulate the water element in the heaven and earth yuan chi. He condensed a water dragon and charged towards Lan Xian and Blupul. Ordinary Void God Realm experts could expand their domains to 10,000 meters. Lan Xian and Blupul happened to be within 10,000 meters. As for the other red-clothed Void God Realm King, he condensed a fire dragon and charged towards Yi Xian. Chapter 634. Translator, Henyi Translations Editor. Henyi Translations Crisis, just in time. Yi Xian's expression was solemn as he slashed at the fire dragon. Although the heaven-shattering slash was stronger than the wind dragon slash due to the combination of the 8 layers of the earth pulse, his opponent's fire element happened to counter his earth element. Therefore, he could only use the wind element to fight. Wind Dragon Slash. Yi Xian wielded the azure light sword and slashed out. Bang! The wind dragon slash and the fire dragon collided. In that instant there were 8 violent vibrations. 8 layers of the earth pulse. This is... The Void God Realm King raised his eyebrows as he suddenly thought of something. He exclaimed, the earth pulse. The earth pulse was an earth element ultimacy. Yi Xian could use green chi. Didn't this mean that Yi Xian had 2 Void God spirits? The twin fruit. The Void God Realm King instantly thought of this and exclaimed in surprise. What? The twin fruit? The other demon race expert was also shocked. A twin fruit had appeared in the vast wilderness hundreds of years ago. However, this twin fruit was damaged in the battle between the humans and the demon clan. No, the interspatial ring that contained the twin fruit had been damaged, so no one knew where it had gone. However now, a human genius had appeared who had consumed the twin fruit. Therefore, Yi Xian had become a thorn in their side. They had to get rid of him as soon as possible. Good boy, you're a dual cultivator of wind and earth. You must die. The red-robed demon race expert roared and attacked with all his might. He instantly formed 2 fire dragons. Yi Xian's expression darkened. He could barely resist 1 fire dragon. Now that there were 2 more, it would be difficult. However, he still had the 8 Desolation Sword. Boom! The 8 Desolation Giant Spirit was swallowed by the fire dragons. However, in the next moment, there was a huge tremor inside the fire dragons. 8 sharp blades shot out of the fire dragons and destroyed one of them. Humph, you're not bad. The red-robed demon race expert squinted his eyes and formed another fire dragon. However, this time, Yi Xian wasn't so relaxed. After the fire dragons appeared, the red-robed demon race expert began to ignite the inextinguishable flames around Yi Xian. Yi Xian quickly dodged. Inextinguishable raging flames were extremely difficult to deal with. If one was not careful and was ignited, it would be very difficult to extinguish them. The water attribute was fine, but Yi Xian had the earth and wind attributes. If he was lit up, he could only cut off the entire body. Yi Xian was inextinguishable realm expert. And Lon Lon was the demon race expert. Translations. Was Lon Lon. Was Lon 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 Lon. Lon 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 Lon. However, the Void God Realm King on their side was of the water attribute. The attack power of the water dragon was not strong, so it was easier to deal with it. Damn it, I actually met two Nihility God Realm Kings at the same time. Damn it! Yi Xian's expression was extremely ugly. If it was only a Void God Realm King, the three of them might be able to kill him if they worked together. However, the two Void God Realm Kings were forced to separate. The pressure was immense. Although Lon Xian and Blue Pool seemed to be able to handle it, that Void God Realm King clearly hadn't used his full strength yet. Moreover, Blue Pool had been pursued all this while and didn't have much true chi left. Therefore, they wouldn't be able to hold on for long. At this moment, Yi Xian suddenly thought of something and hurriedly rushed towards the land. He had consumed the twin fruits and possessed two attributes. His threat to the demons was far greater than Lon Xian and Blue Pool's. If he were to go down, then this monster would definitely follow him. Sure enough, when he flew towards the ground, the Demon Clan expert decisively followed him. Haha, kid, you have comprehended the profound of Earth's pulse and profound of strength, and now you want to go to the continent? Could it be that you also have the profound of Earth traversing art? The red-robed Yao laughed loudly. Comprehending one ultimacy would allow one to break through to the empty god realm. However, many people could not comprehend a second ultimacy. Yi Xian already had the throbbing pulse of the world, the pulsating guard, and the profound truths of strength. Therefore, this demon race expert did not believe that Yi Xian could use world walking. However, he guessed wrong. Yi Xian did know the world walking art. If he went to the continent, his speed would increase explosively. However, this was his trump card. If he revealed it now, his opponent would definitely be on guard. I have to be a coward. I have to find the right opportunity to suddenly explode and kill him in one strike. Yi Xian thought to himself. At this moment, he had already landed on the ground. His speed had indeed increased significantly. After all, he still had 3 agility advancements. Bang! 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 The sound of vital energies colliding was deafening. Although Yi Xian wanted to quickly finish off this Demon Clan expert, his opponent was an empty god realm expert after all. It was not that easy to deal with him. If he wanted to win, he had to endure. Ha ha ha, kid, if this is all you have, then you should just die. The red-robed Demon Clan expert suddenly laughed after exchanging 30 blows with Yi Xian. Yi Xian's expression changed. His opponent was about to make a move. From the start, his opponent had been using his domain to attack while his original body stood there quietly. Now that his original body was about to make a move, the pressure on Yi Xian instantly doubled. Wind Dragon Slash. Yi Xian's expression darkened. He was already prepared to escape. If he used the world walking art, his speed would be faster than this red-robed Demon Clan expert. When the time came, as long as he called Lon Xian and Blue Pool down, he would be able to drag them along and escape. Perhaps he would still have a chance of survival. However, at this moment, ding! Host has comprehended the wings of the wind profound. What? Just as Yi Xian was about to escape, the system suddenly flashed a notification. Wings of the wind? Profound? Immediately, Yi Xian's eyes widened. Only now did he remember that he had been using the meteor movement technique and not the martial dragon movement technique since he had landed. Haha, you're dead meat. Yi Xian's aura surged. In an instant, he used the wings of the wind he had just comprehended, which was the wind profound acceleration profound, on his 8 sharp blades. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The sound of the wind rang out. After the wind profound acceleration profound was added, the speed of the 8 sharp blades at least doubled. Wind profound acceleration profound. Earth pulse 8 layers. The combination of these two profound intents made the 8 sharp blades look like the scythes of the Grim Reaper. In the blink of an eye, they destroyed the 3 fire dragons and swept towards the red-robed Elder. What? The red-robed Demon Clan expert didn't expect Yi Xian to comprehend the wind profound acceleration profound at this critical moment. Was he a freaking monster? This is my protagonist aura. Go to hell. Yi Xian roared in his heart. He controlled the 8 sharp blades and stabbed towards the red-robed Demon Clan expert from 8 different angles. The first layer of the 8 barren wind formation relied on cutting, while the second layer relied on stabbing. At the same time, the second layer's speed was much faster than the first. Chapter 635. Translator. Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios Void God Realm King? / Bang! 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 The red-robed demon's expression finally changed. He continued to gather inextinguishable flames to block the 8 sharp blades while attacking and dodging at the same time. Now, he had stopped attacking and was on the defensive. Attack! What a joke! The 8 sharp blades were enough for him. How could he attack? However, just because he did not attack did not mean that Yi Xian would not attack. Wind Dragon Slash. An attack that contained the wings of the wind and the 8-layered earth pulse swept towards the red-robed demon. The wings of the wind was very useful as it could increase one's attack speed. Yi Xian was already very strong. Now that he had the wings of the wind, his speed was as fast as lightning. In the blink of an eye, the Wind Dragon Slash was already in front of the red-robed demon. Not good. The red-robed demon's expression changed drastically. This was the most unique expression he had ever shown since he appeared. The wrinkles on his face seemed to be twisting together. The 8 sharp blades were already difficult enough to deal with. Now, Yi Xian's attack was going to kill him. The red-robed Yao raised his sword in front of him and took the blow head-on. Bang! He was sent flying. His hands were numb and trembling from the impact. At the same time, the 8 sharp blades attacked mercilessly. Bang! There was a muffled sound as one of the sharp blades pierced the red-robed demon's shoulder. Before he could react, his shoulder was petrified and shattered by the 8-layered earth pulse. He was finally injured. However, this was not the end. There were still 7 sharp blades. Clang! 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 The red-robed demon used all his strength to deflect 3 of the sharp blades. However, he was still stabbed by the remaining 4 blades. 3 more holes appeared on his body. This time, I'll take your life. Yi Xian widened his eyes and sent another Wind Dragon Slash at the red-robed demon. If I die, you will die too. The red-robed demon knew that he was going to die. Therefore, he expended a large amount of true qi and used the fire elemental Yuan qi. Then, an inextinguishable flame lit up under Yi Xian's feet. Die! The last Wind Dragon Slash was sent out. At the same time, Yi Xian's feet started burning as well. The red-robed Yao revealed a faint smile because his profound was the inextinguishable raging flame, which could burn all things into ashes. Yi Xian's legs were lit on fire, making it extremely difficult to extinguish. Even if his legs were chopped off, they would be burned to ashes by the inextinguishable flames and could not be reattached. Although they could fly now, their legs would come in handy at times. Swish! Under the cover of the 8 sharp blades, the Wind Dragon Slash directly hit the red-robed demon, cutting him in half in an instant. At this moment, the inextinguishable flames on Yi Xian's body had already spread to his knees. The undying inferno of a Void God Realm King was no joke. Not good. Yi Xian's face was ashen. He hurriedly swung his sword and cut through the thigh, cutting off both legs. Huff huff. By the time Yi Xian flew away with his qi, his 2 thighs had already been burned to ashes. That was close. Yi Xian couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. This was the effect of the protagonist's halo. Fortunately, his opponent didn't set fire to his crotch. Otherwise, he would be in trouble. Hiss hiss. The sacred tree of life took effect. In the blink of an eye, Yi Xian's legs were restored. When the blue-robed demon and blue pool saw this scene, they couldn't help but be stunned. Their first reaction was that Yi Xian had 3 void god spirits. Wood, wind, and earth attributes. They had never even heard of a dual attribute genius. But now, a triple attribute genius had appeared. If Yi Xian was allowed to grow, he would definitely be a great threat. Even if we die, we must kill him. The blue-robed demon widened his eyes. He ignored Lan Xian and Blue Pool, who were retreating, and dashed towards Yi Xian. At the same time, Yi Xian had already obtained the red-robed demon's universe ring. Ding! The host's void transformation level has increased to 100. Ding! The host has reached the limit and is unable to continue devouring. Yi Xian was stunned for a moment when 2 notifications sounded out in a row. There was actually a requirement to break through from the Void God Realm to the Void God Realm? The corpse of a Void God level Void God beast? Degree of completeness. 90%. I don't care anymore. I'll kill you first. Yi Xian widened his eyes and controlled the 8 sharp blades to charge at the blue-robed Yao. So fast. Earlier, when he was fighting with Lan Xian and Blue Pool, the blue-clothed demon had actually also been paying attention to Yi Xian. However, the two parties were very far apart at that time, so he felt that Yi Xian's attack wasn't very fast. But now, after experiencing it for himself, he knew that it was going to explode soon. Shill, shill, shill. Streaks of light swept over. The blue-robed demon quickly defended himself, but at this moment, Yi Xian had already used the wind wing's profound meaning and swept over. Wind Dragon Slash. Yi Xian, who had a pair of green wings on his back, swept over rapidly. At the same time, he slashed down with a green light sword in his hand. Before the blue-robed demon could attack, he was already on the defensive. Now that he was facing Yi Xian's slash, he hurriedly formed walls of water. However, the defense of the water element was the weakest among the 5 elements. It couldn't block this slash at all. Bang! The blue-robed demon was sent flying. In the next moment, he was punished by the 8 sharp blades. Boom! 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 A series of muffled sounds rang out. Several bloody holes appeared on the blue-robed demon's body. Then, he was chopped into 2 by Yi Xian's Wind Dragon Slash. The second Void God Realm King was dead. Yi Xian and the other 2 had successfully killed the demon. No, it should be said that Yi Xian had single-handedly turned the situation around. Blue Pool and Lan Xian were so shocked that they couldn't speak. This time, they were already prepared to die. However, the situation had taken a turn for the better. Yi Xian had single-handedly killed 2 Void God Realm Kings. This was shocking news. One had to know that even the number 1 genius of Battle King Palace, Lan Yu, couldn't kill Void God Realm Kings when she was at peak Void God Realm. She only had the ability to fight. However, Yi Xian was able to kill Void God Realm Kings. Moreover, they were Void God Realm Kings of the demon race. This was enough to prove that his talent was even more terrifying than Lan Yu's. Yi Xian hurriedly took the blue-robed demon's yin and yang ring and checked it. However, he didn't find any Void God Realm Kings' corpses. It was a pity that these 2 Void God Realm Kings hadn't died in their original form. Otherwise, their corpses could be used for other Void God Realm Kings to study, just like the Sky Dragon's corpse from before. At this moment, Yi Xian suddenly thought of the Sky Dragon's corpse in the 9th Branch Palace. However, although the Sky Dragon's corpse was at Void God Realm King level, it wasn't complete. Not to mention that it was missing a Saint Beast's soul, it was also missing a Sky Dragon's heart. It was definitely less than 90% complete. Therefore, he had to get the corpse himself. Chapter 636. Translator, Henyi Translations Editor. Henyi Translations Beast King Palace. I'll return these items to you. Yi Xian suddenly poured some of the items back into Lan Xian and Blupul's Qian Kuan rings. In the beginning, he had devoured Lan Xian and Blupul's Qian Kuan rings in order to survive. Now, he was returning the items to them. Lan Xian and Blue Pool took the Qian Kuan rings in a daze. Yi Xian you. Lan Xian was so shocked that she couldn't speak. She knew that Yi Xian was very talented, but she didn't expect him to be so talented. He had just comprehended the ground travel skill and now he had comprehended the wind acceleration skill. He had even killed 2 empty God Realm Kings. In fact, Yi Xian didn't expect himself to be able to do it either. He had wanted to escape with the 2 of them. With his body constitution, he might be able to escape from the 2 empty God Realm Kings. However, after he comprehended the wind acceleration skill, he didn't need to escape anymore. I didn't expect to meet a genius who's even more talented than Lan Yu. It seems that our trip isn't in vain. Blue Pool said enviously. He and Yi Xian were both peak empty God Realm Kings. If he were to face the empty God Realm Kings alone, he would probably die a horrible death. However, Yi Xian could kill empty God Realm Kings. This was the difference between them. After a while, Lan Xian finally calmed down. Yi Xian had already given her quite a shock. She didn't mind another one. Luckily, these 2 empty God Realm Kings were only level 1 kings. If they were level 2 kings or had 2 ultimacies, we would be dead meat. Lan Xian heaved a sigh of relief. Level 2 kings? Yi Xian raised his eyebrows. This was the first time he had heard of this. Lon Xian explained. Empty God Realm Kings rely on their territories and ultimacies. A level 1 King's territory can cover 10,000 meters. A level 9 King's territory can cover 90,000 meters. The bigger the territory, the greater the increase. Yi Xian raised his eyebrows. If that red-clothed demon had been a level 2 dominator, his domain of 20,000 meters wouldn't have been a big deal, but his inextinguishable inferno would have been much stronger. Fortunately, the other party was only a level 1 king. Even so, he had almost burned Yi Xian's lower body to ashes. If the other party had been a level 2 king at that time, it was unknown if Yi Xian would have survived. Perhaps he would have been burned to ashes by now. My father is a peak-tier king, which is equivalent to a 9th grade king. His domain can reach up to 90,000 meters. It's too frightening. Yi Xian shuddered inwardly. A 9th grade king and an 8th grade king had a difference of 10,000 meters. This was a huge gap. Even if a grade 8 king's domain had multiple profound meanings, if the distance between the domains was not enough, they would be exhausted to death by a grade 9 king. Of course, if he had the wings of the wind or the earth traversing technique, he would be able to catch up with them easily. I have 2 void god spirits now. If I break through to the void god realm, can the 2 territories be stacked? Yi Xian suddenly asked. This? Lon Xian and Blue Pool looked at each other and shook their heads. The twin fruit is a legend. The last twin fruit appeared in the wasteland, but no one got it in the end. Therefore, I don't know if your wind and earth territories can be stacked. I hope it can be stacked. If that's the case, it will be extremely powerful. Yi Xian's eyes lit up. The earth territory was nothing, but the wind territory was not bad. Even if he had not comprehended the wind blade profound, he could still form wind blades within his territory to attack his enemies. It was just that the power would not be as strong. However, with the wind acceleration profound, the wind blades would be fast and would be a huge problem for his enemies. Alright, since Brother Yi Xian has the ability to kill Void God Realm Kings, we will be much safer. Let's continue to search. It would be best if we can find our own people. Blue Pool said. Alright. Yi Xian nodded. In the depths of the wasteland, other than the beast race, there were also some Void God Realm Void God beasts. If he could obtain one, he would be able to break through to the Void God Realm King realm. The 3 of them began to fly through the clouds again. Although they did not see any Void God Realm Kings, they did see many peak Void God Realm beasts. Of course, these beasts were all killed by Yi Xian. It was a pity that Yi Xian was currently stuck at the peak Void God Realm. Without the corpse of a Void God Realm Void God beast, he would not be able to advance any further. Therefore, while looking for other humans, he also had to look for Void God beasts. At dawn the next day, the 3 of them finally found a second human. The sounds of battle from afar attracted the attention of Yi Xian and the other 2. They descended and saw 2 Void God Realm Kings of the beast race besieging a man. They are from the Beast King Palace. They are level 1 kings. Blue Pool recognized them. Immediately, they rushed over. Boom! 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 The 3 of them caused quite a commotion, and there were occasional explosions in the air. The man from the Beast King Palace was of the fire attribute. What he had comprehended was not the inextinguishable flames but the flame clone. At this moment, the flame clone was wielding a flame-long sword and slashing continuously. However, the 2 Void God Realm Kings of the beast race were of the fire attribute and the other was of the water attribute. Both of them countered the man's fire attribute. Therefore, he was at a disadvantage. Humans? The man glanced around and saw Yi Xian and the other 2 charging towards him. He started to see hope, but when he saw that the 3 of them did not have a domain and were only ordinary Void God Realm Kings, he felt helpless. However, this would help him share some of the pressure. Yi Xian had comprehended the wind acceleration ultimacy, and was much faster than Lon Xian. He instantly flew over and raised his hand to slash at one of the beast race members. 8 Desolation Sword Technique. Sword breaking 8 Desolation. Swish! The wind acceleration ultimacy and the strength ultimacy made this attack faster than the beast race member could react. Sela! This beast race member who was a threat to the man was directly killed by Yi Xian. Yi Xian's body fell from the sky, shocking the remaining beast race member and the man from the Beast King Palace. What? The 2 of them were shocked. A peak Void God Realm King without a domain had killed a Void God Realm King in one hit? So powerful. Is this another secret weapon of the Battle King Palace? The man widened his eyes. However, he did not think much and directly used his trump card. Roar! Suddenly, the shadow of a golden lion appeared behind the man. Following which, the man's aura instantly increased as he charged towards the remaining Beast Race member. The Beast King Palace was similar to the Beast Race, but they were fundamentally different. The Beast King Palace cultivated martial arts similar to the Demonic God chapter and could increase their strength. Moreover, different animals could increase their strength in different ways. Chapter 637. Translator. Henyi Translations Editor. Henyi Translations Elder Shintu. It was different for the monster race. Most of the monster race were heavenly dragons. However, they needed time to transform. The monster race elder's face darkened when he saw the man who had suddenly attacked. He hurriedly gathered his inextinguishable flames to block the man's path. However, he had forgotten that the man had reinforcements now. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The sound of something breaking through the air rang out. The monster race elder turned around and saw 8 sharp blades flying towards him. Boom, boom, boom. Although the monster race elder blocked a few of the blades, he could not block all of them. He writhed in pain as if he had been shot. Blood splattered everywhere. Just as the old man from the demon clan was captivated by the 8 layers of the earth pulse, Yi Xian had already arrived by his side. Wind Dragon Slash. Rip. A head flew into the air. Then, Yi Xian quickly kept the universe ring. The battle was over. You are. The man looked at Yi Xian in shock. At the same time, Blue Pool and Lan Xian arrived. We are from the Warlord Palace. Brother, have you seen anyone else? Blue Pool asked. The man had some influence on Blue Pool. After Blue Pool's reminder, he raised his eyebrows and said, Yes. When I was running for my life, I saw some monsters chasing after others. However, they were too far away and I couldn't see who they were. There's no time to lose. Let's go and help them, Yi Xian said hurriedly. All right. The man did not ask any more questions. Saving people was more important. Their team was made up of the elites of the 3 warlord palaces. If they were all killed, the 3 warlord palaces would not be able to recover for decades. The man led the way based on his memory. Yi Xian and the other 2 followed closely behind him. They started to search. After an hour, they really found the human who was being attacked by the 3 Void God Realm Kings. It's Elder Shentu. The man finally recognized him. However, he suddenly stopped in his tracks and said, Those 3 monsters seem to be Grade 2 sovereigns. Grade 2 sovereigns. And there were 3 of them. This meant that Lan Xian and Blue Pool could not join the battle. The only people who could help were Yi Xian and this man. Don't worry about me. Go. Elder Shentu, shouted when he saw the 4 of them. If not for the fact that his cultivation level was higher than the other parties, he would have been killed by the 3 demon clan experts. The Elder Shentu, Elder Shentu, translations. Shintu. Little brother, are you confident? The man's face darkened. Yi Xian directly shattered the Bahuang sword and formed a Bahuang spirit. He said, Big brother Cui, you have a fire clone. If the 4 of us join hands, it shouldn't be a problem to hold back one person. Shintu. If he could hold one of them back, then the pressure on Elder Shintu would lessen. He might even be able to turn the tables. But don't forget, demons can transform into their true forms. Alright, since that's the case, let's join hands and attack. The man didn't hesitate at all and directly used his trump card. Another phantom of a golden lion appeared and rushed forward. As for Yi Xian, he immediately put away the 8 Wastelands giant spirit. His current innate chi was full, so if he used the sword slashing 8 Wastelands, its power would be extremely strong. However, his opponent was a level 2 dominator, so his attack wouldn't be so easy to hit. Yi Xian and the man dashed over, while Lan Xian and Blue Pool hid in the clouds tens of thousands of meters away. Damn it, why aren't they leaving? Elder Shintu's face darkened. He was already a few decades old, but he was still only a grade 3 king. On the other hand, the man was already a grade 1 king before he was even 40 years old. If the man was given a few more decades, he could definitely break through to become a grade 4 or 5 king. Therefore, he felt that there was no need to risk his life for him. But in the next moment, he realized that he was wrong. Yi Xian and the man joined hands and actually managed to hold back a grade 2 dominator. Good lad. Are you a genius from the 3 royal palaces? Forget it. I'll kill you first before dealing with that old fellow. A red-clothed demon gave up on chasing Elder Shintu and turned to attack Yi Xian and the man. Previously, the man had seen Yi Xian's attack, so he knew that Yi Xian was looking for an opportunity to use it. Therefore, he and his clone kept attracting the red-clothed demon's attention. At this moment, Yi Xian, who was moving quickly, finally made his move. Swish! A wind dragon slash swept out. However, this wind dragon slash wasn't very powerful and was easily blocked by the red-clothed demon's inextinguishable inferno. Although you're of the wind attribute, you don't even have a domain. How dare you come here? The red-clothed demon chose to ignore the attack and focused his attention on the man. The man retreated and defended at the same time. It was very strenuous for him. You're underestimating me. Good. Yi Xian's eyes suddenly flashed as he directly used his strongest attack. Sword slashing 8 wastelands. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The speed of this attack was like a flash of lightning as it rapidly attacked the red-clothed demon. What? The red-clothed demon was stunned for a moment. Yi Xian's attack was actually constantly increasing as he continued to nurture the Bahuang sword. His 1 month was equivalent to several years of others. In addition, the Bahuang sword was an upper-grade ethereal divine weapon, so the increase was even greater. Bam! The red-clothed demon couldn't react in time and could only defend himself. The Bahuang sword slashed heavily on his ethereal divine weapon. The powerful impact actually shook the weapon out of his hand. So powerful! The red-clothed demon was scared to death. If this attack landed on him, he would definitely be split into 2. Careless, he was too careless. Most importantly, he didn't have a metal domain. After the ethereal divine weapon left his hand, the man took the opportunity to attack and prevent him from catching the ethereal divine weapon. Helpless, he could only take out another ethereal divine weapon that had not been nurtured. Bahuang spirit, go! Yi Xian's Bahuang sword instantly shattered and reformed into a Bahuang spirit that was a few meters tall. It flew towards the red-clothed demon. The wind acceleration ultimacy could accelerate everything Yi Xian did. The Bahuang sword could accelerate, so could the Bahuang sword. Even the Bahuang spirit could accelerate. So fast! The red-clothed demon finally realized that something was wrong and quickly retreated. At the same time, he shouted a few times to inform his other 2 companions. The other 2 demons who were battling Elder Shintu turned their heads and realized that their companion had been suppressed. Immediately, their expressions changed. They looked at each other. One of them quickly retreated and transformed. Chapter 638. Translator, Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios Shintu Lai. Although Elder Shintu's opponent was a level lower than him, it was not a problem for him to delay him for a second. Hence, he could only watch as a heavenly dragon emerged from the demon expert's body. Go! The red-robed demon shouted. It turned out that they did not transform to fight, but to retreat. You want to leave? Say. Yi Xian had recovered a third of his qi. He used the 8 desolation slash on the heavenly dragon that had just transformed. Whoosh! Boom! He had successfully knocked the red-robed demon's weapon away because of his sneak attack. Now that the demon was on guard, it was impossible to hit him. Stop chasing! Elder Shintu suddenly shouted. Yi Xian and the man paused for a moment as they watched the 3 demon clan members leave. I don't have much qi left. I'm at the end of my rope. If we continue chasing, we'll all die. Let's go! Elder Shintu hurriedly flew towards Yi Xian and the man, then quickly left the area. The 5 of them hurried on without stopping for a while, and then hid in a white cloud. Elder Shintu's complexion was much better after this period of recovery. He looked at Yi Xian and said gratefully, Thank you for your help. This old man thanks you. You're too kind, Elder Shintu, Yi Xian said with a smile. Although the 3 demons had escaped, it was already good enough that they had managed to save a level 3 overlord. There were dangers everywhere in the vast wilderness. With a level 3 overlord in the team, their chances of survival were many times higher. At this moment, Elder Shintu's gaze suddenly locked onto Yi Xian's face. After a pause, he suddenly asked, "What's your name, little brother?" "My name is Yi Xian." Yi Xian replied casually. However, this answer greatly shocked Elder Shintu. "Little brother, can I have a word with you?" Elder Shintu suddenly flew away from the team. Yi Xian followed him in surprise. Elder Shintu flew 1,000 meters away with Yi Xian. Then he asked in shock, "Yi Xian, may I know who Yi Chong is to you?" Boom! This question caused Yi Xian to be stunned on the spot. Elder Shintu actually knew Yi Chong? His eyes widened as he looked at this Elder Shintu. A name suddenly flashed through his mind. Shentu Lai. Shentu Lai was the city lord of the #1 main city in the Heavenly Water Continent. No, it should be said that he was once the city lord. He was the one who gave the position of city lord to Lin Wenyue and left the Heavenly Water Continent with Yi Chong. Could it be that Elder Shintu? "Yi Chong is my father," Yi Xian replied honestly. As expected, Shintu Lai revealed an expression of sudden realization and said, "I am called Shentu Lai. I was originally the city lord of Heavenly Water Continent's #1 main city. Later on, I followed your father to Blood Cliff Continent. I thought you looked familiar just now. So you really are his son." After hearing the name Shentu Lai, Yi Xian revealed a strange expression. When Shentu Lai left the Heavenly Water Continent, he was only in the physical strength realm. He probably did not even have the strength of 10 dragons. Now, he had already broken through to the rank 3 Void God realm. However, this could not be helped. There were probably many geniuses in the Heavenly Water Continent. However, there was a lack of yuan qi and poor cultivation resources, so they were buried. Without waiting for Yi Xian to speak, Shentu Lai continued, "Back then, your father brought me to the Imperial Hall. After the Imperial Hall split, I joined the Beast King Hall. I never thought that you would grow to this extent in a dozen years." "Elder Shintu, is my father doing well?" Yi Xian hurriedly asked. He knew too little about Yi Chong. He only knew that Yi Chong was constantly trying to break through the Sword God Palace. Shentu Lai shook his head. Not very well. Every time he tried to break through the Sword God Palace, he would end up in failure. Furthermore, he would be seriously injured every time. If not for the Palace Master of the Sword God Palace using rejuvenation to heal him, he would have died long ago. Yi Xian understood that the Palace Master of the Sword God Palace that Shentu Lai mentioned should be the Hall Master of the Battle King Hall. He never thought that the Hall Master would have the rare wood attribute physique, and had comprehended the second level of the rejuvenation. Yi Xian was very grateful to this person. However, it was not the time to worry about this. It was still unknown whether they would be able to leave the vast wilderness. "By the way, Elder Shintu, do you have the corpse of a Void God beast?" "I want the corpse of a Void God Realm King," Yi Xian hurriedly asked. "What do you want it for?" Shintu Lai asked in surprise. He added, "I don't have it on me. However, when I was escaping, I saw a Void God Realm King level Void God beast. My breakthrough is different from others. As long as I can obtain a Void God Realm King level Void God beast corpse, I will be able to break through to the Void God Realm King level," Yi Xian said solemnly. Although he did not understand what Yi Xian meant, Shintu Lai nodded his head. "All right, follow me." Yi Xian already possessed such strength before reaching the Void God Realm King level. If he was allowed to break through, his battle prowess would increase greatly. Shentu Lai immediately led Yi Xian and the other 3 to search for the beast according to their memories. The Void God Realm King level Void God beast he was talking about was nearby. Very soon they found it. It was a sky dragon, but it was not from the Demon Clan. Most of the Demon Clan were sky dragons. Therefore, they would be merciful to their own clan and would not capture or kill them. Now, it was Yi Xian who was benefiting from this. "Elder Shintu, I will do it myself," Yi Xian said to Shentu Lai as he dove down. The wind acceleration allowed him to move as fast as lightning. 8 Desolation Swordsmanship. 8 Desolation Swordsmanship. The Sky Dragon, who had just discovered Yi Xian, suddenly turned its head and saw a dazzling cold light shooting towards it. Just as it was about to dodge, its head was instantly chopped off. Dead. One strike to kill a Void God Realm King level Void God beast. Such strength could only be called monstrous. A corpse. Yi Xian opened his eyes wide as he quickly flew over and kept the corpse. In the next moment, a pleasant notification sounded in his mind. Ding! Host has broken through to the Void God Realm King level. Host is currently a level 1 king. Finally, he had broken through to the Void God Realm King level. Whoosh! His domain instantly expanded to a radius of 10,000 meters. Is this the Earth domain? Yi Xian squinted his eyes as he glanced to the side. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The ground suddenly began to tremble. Following that, a stone tablet rose up. This stone tablet was actually formed from ordinary soil. However, after being refined by the Earth Chi, it was indestructible and could be used to block attacks. Among the 5 elements, the Earth Chi had the strongest defense. It could block many attacks. At this moment, Yi Xian suddenly mobilized the Yuan Chi of heaven and earth. He gathered the Earth Chi in the air and formed an earth shield in front of him. Chapter 639. Translator, Exodus Tales Editor. Exodus Tales Dual Territory. This shield was formed by the Yuan Chi of heaven and earth. Hence, its defensive power was weaker than the stone tablet. However, the earth territory was most effective on land. If he was in the air, he could only use it to defend himself. Within the earth territory, Yi Xian could do whatever he wanted. With just a thought, he could create a cave abode. With just a thought, he could create countless spikes on the ground. It was impossible to defend against. Of course, he could also create spikes in the air. However, the earth attribute was the most scarce in the Yuan Chi of heaven and earth. Only on land, the earth attribute was abundant. Hence, the power of the spikes was naturally not as strong as the wind blades. Since he had just used the earth territory, it was time to use the wind territory. Whoosh! Whoosh! Suddenly, a gust of wind blew around Yi Xian. Wind blades formed one after another, causing the surrounding trees and earth to be scraped to pieces. Overall, the wind territory was much more useful than the earth territory. I heard that the wind ultimacy also has the wind shackles. If I can comprehend this ultimacy, I can restrict the movements of my enemies within the territory and increase my strength. Yi Xian thought to himself. However, he was most concerned about whether the territories could be stacked. Immediately, he tried to use the wind territory and earth territory at the same time. To his joy, the 2 territories could be stacked. Simply put, he could use the wind wall and earth wall to defend himself. He could also use the earth spikes and wind blades to attack. Awesome! However, what was even more satisfying was still to come. Previously, he had killed 4 Void God Realm Kings of the Demon Clan. Yi Xian still kept the things in their universe rings. However, what scared Yi Xian was that the 4 interspatial rings could not help him break through. His territory had only expanded to 14,000 meters. Only a territory of 20,000 meters could be considered a Grade 2 dominator. Hence, he still had some way to go. Breaking through to the next realm gave me a lot of experience. What a scam. Yi Xian shook his head helplessly. Ding! Host has learned the second move of the 3rd level of the 8 Baron Swordplay. Sword Shattering the Stars. The 3rd level of the 8 Desolation Sword technique had a total of 3 moves. The first move was the 8 Desolation Sword technique, and the second move was the Star Shattering Sword. He just didn't know how powerful this move, Sword Shattering Stars, was. At this moment, Shin Tu Lai also descended with Lan Xin and the others. You actually broke through, Shen Tu Lai said in disbelief. Yes. Yi Xian nodded silently. If he had been a Void God Realm King at that time, those 3 demonic beasts would have been left behind. Unfortunately, he was only at the peak of the Void God Realm at that time. Lan Xin and the other 2 also looked at Yi Xian as if they were looking at a monster. Lan Xin was even more shocked. One had to know that when she and Yi Xian had just entered the Great Wasteland, Yi Xian was only at 20% virtual transformation. Even the number 1 genius of the Warlord Palace, Lan Yu, took several years to break through from the 20% void transformation stage to the Nihility God Realm King. Monster. What a monster. Good, this is really good. Dual domain. You are even more powerful than Lan Yu. Shen Tu Lai praised repeatedly. At the same time he said to himself in his heart, in time, this child will definitely surpass his father. Yi Xian was the son of the undying sword god, Yi Chong. This matter could not be revealed. Otherwise, it would definitely attract trouble. And this trouble would definitely come from the Jiang family. Now, Yi Xian had already broken through to the Void God Realm King. If he joined forces with Shen Tu Lai, they could even kill those 3 demonic beasts from before. However, what they wanted really came to them. Before they could move, 5 figures flew over from the horizon. 3 of them were the 3 demonic beasts that had escaped earlier. They actually found people to come. They are really courting death. Yi Xian's eyes flashed. I have more or less recovered now. Although my battle strength is weak, I can still hold back the 3 of them. Shen Tu Lai's expression became serious. Although he had the metal attribute Void God Spirit, he had comprehended the Midas touch. Previously, when he was surrounded by the 3 demonic beasts, he had relied on the 2nd level of the Midas touch to defend himself. Otherwise, he would have died long ago. Kill! Yi Xian did not waste any more words. He gripped his Bahuang sword tightly and charged forward. Of the 5 demonic beasts that came this time, other than the 3 demonic beasts from before, there was another demonic beast king and a level 1 demonic beast king. Coincidentally, the man from the Beast King Hall also had an opponent. Go! Shen Tu Lai shouted and followed after him. It's that brat. You too, go and kill him first. The demonic beast in red shouted. Following which, Sky Dragon, who had transformed into his original form, joined forces with the other level 2 demonic beast king and charged towards Yi Xian. To their knowledge, Yi Xian was only at the peak of the Void God realm. He had to be killed in the cradle. However, they did not know that Yi Xian had already broken through to the Void God realm king. The 2 parties instantly clashed. Yi Xian was facing 2 level 2 demonic beast kings. One of them had already transformed into his original form. The man with the surname Cui was facing the level 1 demonic beast king alone. As for Shen Tu Lai, he was facing 2 level 2 demonic beast kings like Yi Xian. Die, brat! The red sky dragon looked at Yi Xian who was charging towards it. It opened its mouth wide and spat out a scorching dragon breath. Even Shen Tu Lai, who had comprehended the metal defense, would be severely injured by this attack. However, Yi Xian had the wind acceleration. He looked at the scorching pillar of fire and instantly dodged it. 8 Desolation Swordsmanship. Sword shatters the stars. Yi Xian had just learned the 2nd move of the 8 Desolation Swordsmanship's 3rd stage. It was now time to put it to good use. A sharp cold light brushed past the dragon breath and instantly entered the red sky dragon's body. Pooh! A fist-sized hole was pierced through the red sky dragon's body. However, the cold light did not penetrate through the other side of its body. In the next moment, the red sky dragon stopped spewing out its dragon breath. Its body began to break apart. In the blink of an eye, it was shattered into countless pieces. Dragon blood rained down like a heavy downpour. Sword shatters the stars. Shatter the stars. Yi Xian finally understood the meaning behind the name of this move. His instant kill of the red sky dragon caused the expressions of the other 4 goblins to change drastically. Wasn't he only at the peak of the Void God realm? How could he instantly kill a level 2 demonic beast king who had already transformed into its true form? The goblin who had come to help kill Yi Xian in his cradle was scared silly. At this moment, a strange energy suddenly enveloped him. Domain. This goblin immediately reacted. He turned around and saw that the center of this domain was actually Yi Xian. Yi Xian was already a Void God realm demonic beast king. Retreat! This goblin had just heard about Yi Xian. Now that he had seen Yi Xian's strength with his own eyes, he had no intention of continuing the fight. He immediately turned around. Chapter 640. Translator. Henyi Translations Editor. Henyi Translations killing a Grade 2 Dominator. You think you can escape from my domain? Yi Xian's eyes flickered. He immediately formed wind blades to attack the demon. At the same time, the Bahuang sword shattered. The 8 blades were enhanced by the wind acceleration and flew towards the demon. Damn it! Disperse! This demon was also of the metal attribute. His mastery was the same as Shen Tu Lai's, which was the golden touch and metal defense. Yi Xian's wind blades could not break through his defense unless Yi Xian's domain was enhanced by the wind blade abstruse. Boom! Poof! Poof! This demon was already covered by the golden armor. The wind blades could not break through his defense. However, the Bahuang sword could. The Bahuang sword contained the 8 waves of the earth. Bang! Kacha! A sharp blade pierced the golden armor, causing it to explode in an instant. Although the demon clan expert was constantly repairing his armor, he could not withstand the simultaneous attack of 8 sharp blades. At this moment, Yi Xian had already rushed over with the help of the wind acceleration. Collapsing heavenly execution. 8 waves of the earth. Boom. This demon was too slow in front of Yi Xian. Yi Xian slashed at the demon's armor and broke through half of the defense. If not for the fact that he was not using the Bahuang sword, this demon's metal defense would have been broken. I thought your defense was very strong. So it's just this. Since that's the case, you can go to hell. Yi Xian suddenly retracted his 8 blades and reassembled the Bahuang sword. Oh no! The face of the demon clan expert who was protected by the golden armor darkened. If Yi Xian were to use that move again, he would be dead for sure. He turned serious and transformed into his original form without hesitation. However, transforming into his original form required time. Bahuang sword technique. Sword shatters the stars. Yi Xian's recovered vital energy was drained again. As he stabbed with his sword, a cold light broke through the metal defense and entered the demon's body. Bang! Kacha! After a muffled sound, a series of crisp sounds rang out. This was the sound of the golden armor shattering, and the demon clan expert inside had been broken into dozens of pieces. Death! The 2 Class 2 demon kings who wanted to kill Yi Xian in the cradle were both dead. Yi Xian immediately collected their interspatial rings. When one reached the Void God realm, there wouldn't be a notification unless they had a breakthrough. However, Yi Xian could feel his domain expanding. As long as I kill the other 3, I might be able to become a Grade 2 Dominator. Yi Xian's eyes involuntarily shot out 2 beams of light. He had just broken through to the rank 1 king level not long ago, and now he was about to break through again. However, it was better to kill the other 3 first. Too terrifying. Retreat. The expression of the red-clothed demon that was fighting Shen Tu Lai changed greatly. This time, he was going to transform into his original form. However, Yi Xian was faster than him and joined the battle in the blink of an eye. 8 Barren Wind Formation. Go! Yi Xian did not have much true qi in his body at the moment, so he could only use the 8 sharp blades and wind blades to attack and temporarily recover his true qi. However, this was enough to pose a threat to his opponent. The red-clothed demon was transforming, and his body was constantly growing. However, he was also enduring various attacks. Crushing Heavenly Slash. Yi Xian held a mid-grade Void God weapon and slashed at the Red Sky Dragon. Bam! The Red Sky Dragon's body trembled as its abdomen was hit, and a large hole was blasted open. Shen Tu Lai raised his eyebrows and added a beam of golden sword qi. Boom! This beam of sword qi passed through the large hole and penetrated the Red Sky Dragon's body. However, this was not enough to kill it. It's about time. Yi Xian estimated the true qi in his body, reassembled the 8 barren sword, and stabbed out fiercely. Sword shattering stars. Poof! The sword qi entered the Red Sky Dragon's body. In the next moment, the Red Sky Dragon roared at the sky and broke into pieces. Another rain of blood fell from the sky. The 3rd grade Dominator was dead. The remaining Grade 2 Dominator and Grade 1 Dominator had extremely ugly expressions. Out of the 4 Grade 2 Dominators, 3 had already died, while the opponent was unharmed. How could they continue fighting? Although he wanted to transform into his original form, the speed of transformation was extremely slow due to the curse. Before he could transform, he would be killed by Yi Xian and Shen Tu Lai. Therefore he was doomed. Indeed, under the joint efforts of Yi Xian and Shen Tu Lai, the last Grade 2 Dominator followed in the footsteps of the previous 3 in less than 3 rounds. At the same time, the last Grade 1 Dominator was also killed by the man due to his heart palpitations and flaws. All 5 demons were annihilated. Yi Xian did not hesitate to put away the 2 yin and yang rings and devour them. Ding! The host has broken through. The host is now a Grade 2 Dominator. Shen Tu Lai's expression changed drastically as his aura surged. Yi Xian had just broken through not long ago, and now he had broken through again? Monster! No, he must be the reincarnation of a god. Shen Tu Lai's eyes widened. In less than 2 minutes, Yi Xian had gone from peak Void God level to Grade 2 Dominator. Was he still human? Great, this is great. If your father knew about this, he would definitely be overjoyed, Shen Tu Lai said in surprise. Yi Xian's father, Yi Chong, had already attempted the Sword God Pagoda 1,000 times, but he had always been defeated by his brother-in-law. His heart was already filled with demonic roots, and he could go berserk at any time. Yi Xian's appearance might be able to fulfill Yi Chong's wish. This way, Yi Chong's inner demon would disappear. It was unknown whether Yi Xian could pass the Sword God Pagoda and enter the Sword God Palace. Yi Xian, you're so powerful now. It won't be long before you surpass Jiang Tianjin. Lan Xian came over. Jiang Tianjin. Hearing this name, Yi Xian became angry. Jiang Tianjin's talent was actually about the same as Battle Emperor Hall's young master, Lan Yu. However, his father was the Sword God Palace master, which was why his improvement was so fast. Originally, Lan Yu wanted to nurture Ice Lady and Flame Emperor to fight against Jiang Tianjin. Now that Yi Xian had appeared, it would not be a problem for him to surpass Jiang Tianjin if he was given more time. Let's not talk about this for now. Let's continue searching. Shen Tulai was still worried about the others. Then, he went with Yi Xian and the others to search for the others. However, this time, they were very unlucky. They did not encounter any humans, nor did they encounter any demons. After 3 days, they found nothing. This is where we were ambushed. We have been searching for so long, but we still haven't found them. Perhaps they have already left the depths of the wasteland, Shen Tulai said as he looked at the craters on the ground. Yi Xian also looked down with a gloomy expression. After searching for so long, they still could not find the others. That meant that the others were either dead, hiding, or had left the depths of the wasteland. Chapter 641. Translator, Henyi Translations Editor. Henyi Translations Important News, Elder Shen Tu, what should we do? Blue Pool asked. Let's leave the vast wilderness. We had already planned that if anything happened, we would return to our respective places and discuss countermeasures, Shen Tulai said. Shen Tulai said, perhaps, everyone has already left the great wilderness and returned to the 3 great halls. Then sister and the others. Lan Xian frowned. Previously, Blue Pool had said that the last time he saw Lan Yu, she was leaving with Ice Lady and Flame Emperor. However, there were 2 Void God Realm Kings chasing after them. Most importantly, Flame Emperor seemed to be heavily injured. He didn't know if they would be in danger. Elder Shen Tu, you all can return first. I want to search for another 2 days, Yi Xian suddenly said. What? His words made the others feel a little baffled. He had only recently joined the Battle King Palace. Why would he stay behind to search when everyone else had already left? Could it be that he knew someone from the 3 great halls? Could it be that you? Lan Xian suddenly thought of something and looked at Yi Xian in shock. Yi Xian didn't plan to hide it anymore and said, that's right. I know Ice Lady and Flame Emperor. The ice goddess you all speak of is my fiancée, Song Sui Jing. Indeed. Lan Xian's eyes widened in disbelief. No wonder Yi Xian's expression was more solemn than theirs. It turned out that this was the case. Then why didn't you say so earlier? Lan Xian asked in confusion. What's the use of saying so earlier? When I found out that they were Ice Lady and Flame Emperor, they had already entered the depths of the vast wilderness. Yi Xian shook his head helplessly. He didn't expect Song Jeju and Song Suijing's yin-yang dual body to be so powerful. Their cultivation speed was much faster than his. This was why he didn't recognize them in a hurry. However, it was useless even if he recognized them. When he arrived at the main hall, they had already left. Since that's the case, let's search for a few more days. Shen Tulai could see that Yi Xian was very worried and suggested. 3 days. We'll search for another 3 days. If we can't find him, we'll leave, Yi Xian replied. The depths of the desolate land were extremely dangerous. Even if their team was strong, could they be stronger than the allied team of the 3 major palaces? If they continued to stay here, they would only become more and more dangerous. This would only harm Lan Xian and the others. All right, 3 days. We'll search for her for 3 more days. If we can't find her, we'll go back. Maybe she has already returned to the Battle King Hall. Lan Xian also made her choice. She was also very anxious. After all, there was no news of her sister. Immediately, the 5 of them continued their search. However, they still did not gain anything. They did not see any humans, and the demon clan also mysteriously disappeared. They had been searching for 6 days, but they hadn't seen a single person, not even a single demon. Perhaps they had all left the depths of the desolate wasteland, so they could only leave the desolate wasteland. Yi Xian was very anxious. Although Song Sui-jing had the earring that he had given her, Song Sui-jing might have taken it off and put it in her Qian Kuan ring. It could also be that she was too far away, so there was no reaction. At this moment, Yi Xian could only pray that Lan Yu had already brought the two of them back to the Battle King Hall. They quickly left the depths of the desolate wasteland. However, just as they were about to leave the inner area of the desolate wasteland, a few people flew towards them. "It's the demon clan. Be careful," Shen Tu-Lai hurriedly shouted. He then added, "Among them are the two grade 2 dominators who were chasing after Lan Yu and the other two." What? Hearing this, Yi Xian raised his eyebrows. They actually encountered the demon clan experts who were chasing after Lan Yu and the other two? At this moment, the 5 demon clan experts had already flown over. TSK. Although we didn't manage to catch up with them, we encountered another group. Not bad. Old Tortoise, we meet again. The leader of the 5 demon clan experts, a bald, middle-aged man, smiled. This person had fought with Shen Tu-Lai before. However, because Shen Tu-Lai's defense was strong, he went to deal with the others. "How many people did you kill?" Shen Tu-Lai couldn't help but ask. "How many? I can't count. Although many escaped, most of them were killed by us. This time, it should be enough to severely injure the 3 battle kings, right?" The bald, middle-aged man said. "Humph. If it wasn't for the Sword God Palace, they would probably all be dead." A demon clan expert at the side shouted. The Sword God Palace was a powerful force in the desolate wasteland. Both parties had an agreement that all Void God Realm dominators were not allowed to leave the desolate wasteland and enter the eastern mainland. Therefore, this team of 5 had only chased to the outskirts of the desolate wasteland. They didn't leave the desolate wasteland. At this moment, Yi Xian stood up and couldn't help but ask, "Where are Ice Lady and Flame Emperor?" "Ice Lady and Flame Emperor?" The bald middle-aged man squinted his eyes and said, "Are you talking about the ice and fire attribute? That lightning-attributed girl escaped with him." Humph. That girl actually comprehended the lightning acceleration at the crucial moment. "They are lucky." The demon clan expert who had spoken earlier continued. He and another demon clan expert had chased after Lan Yu and the other two. Phew. Hearing this, Yi Xian heaved a sigh of relief. It seemed that Lan Yu and the other two were safe. That fire attribute brat was hit by my ultimate move. He should have died long ago, but he managed to survive the desolate wasteland. However, I reckon that he won't be able to last long unless there is a wood attribute expert who has comprehended rejuvenation to heal him. Another demon clan expert said. This was bad news for Yi Xian. Although Song Sui-jing and Judge Song had good aptitudes, they were at most grade 1 dominators. However, Judge Song had actually been hit by a grade 2 dominator's ultimate move and was in imminent danger. Whether he could make it back to the Battle King Palace was still a question. Most importantly, he needed a wood attribute expert who had comprehended rejuvenation to heal him. Although the Battle King Palace's palace master was of the wood attribute and had comprehended rejuvenation, his whereabouts were uncertain. Where could they find him? However, it was better to deal with the problem in front of them first. The bald middle-aged man's gaze suddenly landed on Lan Xen and said, "Little girl, you should be the younger sister of that lightning attribute girl. I heard that one of you is of the wind attribute and the other is of the lightning attribute. Since your elder sister ran away, it would be a pretty good harvest to capture you." Humph. Capture her first. Let's see if you have the ability. Shen Tu-Lai stepped forward and stood in front of them. The grade 1 dominator from the Beast King Palace, Cui Chenghua, also stepped forward. As for Yi Xian, he was hidden within the group. After all, the other party didn't recognize him and didn't know his strength. If he suddenly made a move, he would definitely be able to catch the other party unprepared. Chapter 642. Translator, Henyi Translations Editor. Henyi Translations 3 against 5. However, among the 5 demons in front of Yi Xian and the rest, other than the bald middle-aged leader, who was a level 3 king, the other 4 were all level 2 kings. If they really fought, Yi Xian and the rest were not afraid. They were only afraid that the demons would suddenly attack Lan Xin and Blue Pool. However, if they could kill 1 or 2 of them, the situation would be much simpler. Leave the little girl behind and kill the rest. Go. The bald, middle-aged man did not waste any more words. In an instant, the 5 demons rushed towards Yi Xian and the rest. Shen Tu Lai did not dare to hide anymore. He threw out more than 10 mid-grade ethereal god weapons and controlled them to rush over. At the same time, he used a large amount of Yuan Qi to form golden ramparts to block in front of Lan Xian and Blue Pool. Shen Tu Lai had comprehended the golden defense, so the golden ramparts were very strong. Although they were not indestructible, they could at least block some attacks. Then, he and Cui Chunghua rushed out. Yi Xian did not move. He was waiting for an opportunity. Attack together. The bald, middle-aged man shouted. His eyes, which were filled with confidence, were fixed on Shen Tu Lai from beginning to end. He and Shen Tu Lai were both level 3rd kings. As long as he killed Shen Tu Lai, he could capture the remaining 4 alive. Therefore, he did not think that he would fail. 1 level 3 king and 4 level 2nd kings were enough to threaten a level 4 king. However, Shen Tu Lai was famous for his defense. He would not be killed instantly. Kacha! 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 Golden ramparts appeared in front of him and Cui Chunghua. At the same time, an illusory dragon turtle appeared behind him. This could greatly increase his defense. Although Cui Chunghua was only a level 1 king, he had comprehended the flame doppelganger. He and his doppelganger hid behind the golden ramparts and slashed continuously in an attempt to weaken the enemy's attacks. At the same time, the moment the 5 demons attacked, Yi Xian finally moved. 8 Desolation Sword. Sword shatters the stars. A cold light brushed past the golden barrier, and before the other party could react, it entered the body of one of the Yao clan members. In the next moment, the Yao clan expert's body shattered into pieces, and a rain of blood and flesh fell from the sky. Instant kill. Now, there were only 4 of them left. One was a level 3 beast tamer, and the other 3 were level 2 beast tamers. What? The bald middle-aged man was alarmed. He focused his gaze and realized that a young man had charged out from behind the golden wall. It was the person who had asked about Ice Maiden and Flame Emperor's safety. Wind attribute? The bald middle-aged man was shocked. Another rare wind attribute cultivator had appeared. Could it be that a human's innate talent was so strong? Even he might not be able to kill a rank 2 king in one hit. However, a rank 1 king like Yi Xian had done it. 8 Desolation Titans appear. After Yi Xian killed a level 2 dominator, he quickly rushed over. Both he and Ba Huang Jinling had wings of the wind, so their speed was no slower than the bald middle-aged man. He and Ba Huang Jinling each took down a level 2 dominator. The one that Yi Xian had killed was the one with the wood attribute. He was also the one who had severely injured Flame Emperor Song Ju. Now, Yi Xian's 2 opponents were of the metal attribute and the fire attribute. One was countered by him, while the other countered him. Under such circumstances, he naturally had to kill the one with the metal attribute first. Metal defense. One of the Yao clan experts did not dare to delay and quickly covered his entire body. However, it was of no use. Just as Ba Huang Jinling was in front of him, Ba Huang Jinling suddenly disintegrated and split into 8 blades to attack. Yi Xian and this person were both level 2 beast tamers. Both of them were at the same level, and with their element advantage, this person was a living target. Pang! 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 This level 2 beast tamer was continuously beaten up, and he could not even attack. As for the fire attribute beast tamer, he was of no threat to Yi Xian, who had comprehended wind acceleration. It's about time. Ba Huang's sword, reassemble. Yi Xian felt that he had recovered a third of his true qi. Although it was not much, it was enough to kill one of them. Gotcha! The Ba Huang sword was reassembled. Yi Xian gripped it tightly, then fiercely stabbed it towards the fire attribute demon. What? The fire attribute beast tamer was stunned. He thought that Yi Xian was going to kill the other beast tamer first. However, he suddenly changed his target, and this caught him off guard. The speed of Ba Huang Jinling's star-shattering sword was already fast, and with the addition of the profound strength and wind acceleration, as well as the sneak attack, the fire attribute beast tamer was hit before he could react. In an instant, a rain of blood fell from the sky. Yi Xian's true qi was depleted again. Although he had 2 void spirits and 2 attributes, the true qi in his body was still the same. When he used martial arts like Heaven-Shattering Slash, the earth attribute True Chi was released. When he used Wind Dragon Slash, the wind attribute True Chi was released. To put it simply, Yi Xian could adjust the wind and earth attributes at any time to deal with the situation. Just now, he had used the wind attribute True Chi to kill the fire attribute Beast Tamer King. Now, 2 Beast Tamers had died. The 3rd grade Beast Tamer King was held back by Shin Tu Lai, and the other Beast Tamer King was held back by Cui Chenghua. As for the remaining metal attribute Beast Tamer, he was not far from death. Bam! 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 A series of muffled sounds were heard. The gold defense profound strength was indeed powerful. If it had been a normal person, Yi Xian would have killed him. Let me show you the technique that I almost overlooked. Yi Xian looked at the golden-armored beast tamer in front of him. His eyes suddenly flashed. The 8 sharp blades suddenly stopped attacking and formed a sharp cone shape. Ba Huang Wind Formation, Sky Break. Whoosh whoosh. A sharp gust of wind swept out and drilled into the golden armor. In an instant, the golden armor was torn apart and the blades pierced through the beast tamer's body. Sky Break combined with the 8-layered earth-throbbing technique was too powerful. Even if it was the gold defense profound strength of a 3rd-grade beast tamer, Yi Xian was confident that he could penetrate it. The metal attribute beast tamer had a huge hole in his abdomen. He retreated in horror, but in the next moment, his back slammed into a hard object. What? The beast tamer's eyes widened. When he turned around, he realized that he had slammed into an earth wall. Don't forget that Yi Xian not only had the wind domain, but also the earth domain. Although the earth spike attack was useless against the beast tamer, and might not even be able to penetrate his defense, some small tricks were still useful. Dang. Chapter 643. Translator. Henyi Translations Editor. Henyi Translations Fiancé? This attack broke through the sky and directly drilled this demon's head into mush. He couldn't be more dead than this. Yi Xian had single-handedly defeated 3 demons, shocking the entire audience. Now, it was time for him to reap the rewards. Although the 3 Grade 2 Dominator Qian Kuan rings couldn't help him break through, it was good enough. His territory had expanded by another 2,000 meters, reaching 22,000 meters. Let me help you. Following that, Yi Xian quickly rushed towards Cui Chenghua, who had been suppressed to the point of retreating. Damn it, retreat! At the same time, the bald middle-aged man couldn't help but shout. They had just started the battle and 3 of them had died. They had the advantage in terms of numbers, but now they were at a disadvantage. If the battle continued, the 2 of them would die too. Go after him. Shen Tu Lai's eyes lit up as he shouted. His defense was amazing. The bald middle-aged man was also a grade 3 dominator, but he couldn't do anything to him. All he could do was slowly exhaust his genuine qi. The other monster was also retreating, but he wasn't as fast as Yi Xian. Suddenly, a dragon roar was heard. Yi Xian turned around and saw that the bald middle-aged man had taken the opportunity to transform into his original form. Dragon-slaying Sword of Desolation, Dragon's Judgment. Dragon-slaying Sword of Desolation, Dragon's Judgment. Dragon-slaying Sword of Desolation, Dragon's Judgment. Yi Xian immediately turned around and attacked the bald middle-aged man. Shen Tu Lai no longer defended. Instead, he controlled more than 10 middle-grade ethereal god weapons and charged towards the red dragon. Boom! 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 One after another, the dragon's judgment landed on the red dragon, severely injuring him. However, Yi Xian's reaction was still too slow. After the red dragon transformed, he quickly ran away and didn't even care about his companions. So fast. After seeing his opponent's speed, Yi Xian didn't want to chase him anymore. This was a level 3 Dominator Sky Dragon. He was faster than him, so he gave up. However, this dragon took the risk of transforming into his original form. There would be repercussions and he wouldn't be able to transform back into his human form. That was the curse of the monster race. Although it was a pity that this level 3 king had escaped, there was still one more person. The last Fei took advantage of the fact that Yi Xian and Shen Tu Lai were in a daze to transform back into his original form. However, at this moment, Yi Xian's qi had more or less recovered. 8 Baron Swordsmanship. Sword-breaking 8 Baron. Pooh! Just as the demon finished its transformation, its head was cut off by Yi Xian and it died on the spot. Originally, Yi Xian could have killed him quickly, making it impossible for him to even transform. However, when he thought about how the dragon corpse was still useful to those at the peak of the Nihility God stage, Yi Xian allowed him to transform into his original form before killing him. This way the corpses could be used for comprehension. After the fourth Demon King died, Yi Xian quickly rushed over and put away his universe ring. At the same time, he also put away the corpse. The battle was over. You killed 4 rank 2 Demon Kings by yourself. I'm afraid your strength is comparable to a rank 3 Demon King. Shin Tu Lai flew over. Rank 3 Demon King? Yi Xian muttered to himself. That was roughly what he had expected. However, it was not enough to kill a rank 3 Demon King. Let's hurry back. Yi Xian turned to look at the others. Judge Song was heavily injured and worried. The Hall Master was nowhere to be found, so they could only rely on him. The sacred tree of life bloodline might be useful. Yes, let's hurry back. After killing the 4 Monster Kings, Yi Xian's group of 5 quickly left the vast wilderness and flew towards Warlord Hall. After leaving the vast wilderness, they would be safe. After all, the Monster Kings of the vast wilderness could not leave the vast wilderness. Therefore, Yi Xian took the lead and left the group, flying towards Warlord Hall. The daughter of Warlord Hall's deputy hall master, Lan Yu, had the lightning attribute, which was as rare as the wind, ice, and fire attributes. According to the monster race experts, Lan Yu had suddenly comprehended the lightning acceleration esoteric skill, which was why she had survived. The lightning acceleration esoteric skill was said to be faster than the wind acceleration esoteric skill. Therefore, Lan Yu's group might have arrived at Warlord Hall first. However, Yi Xian's guess was wrong. After returning, he quickly found Vice Hall Master Lan Yao. You're back. Vice Hall Master Lan Yao was very surprised to see Yi Xian suddenly barging in. Is the young Hall Master back? Yi Xian hurriedly asked. Young Hall Master? Lan Yao suddenly slammed the table and stood up. You lost contact with Xan? At this moment, Yi Xian realized that he'd misspoken and caused Lan Yao to misunderstand him as Lan Xian. He hurriedly explained, No, it's Lan Yu. Lan Yu? Lan Yao frowned. Yi Xian was the second team from the vast wilderness. How did he get involved with the first team? Yi Xian understood that he did not understand and quickly explained what had happened. What? Yan Di is heavily injured? Lan Yao exclaimed after hearing the story. Ice Lady, Yan Di, and Lan Yu were the 3 trump cards of Warlord Hall. If they were nurtured for a few years, they would become experts on the same level as Jiang Tianjin in the future. But now, something had happened to them? They haven't returned yet. Something might have happened on their way back. Lan Yao's expression was solemn. Vice Hall Master. Ice Lady Song Sui Jing is my fiancée. Please send people to search for her immediately. Yi Xian hurriedly cupped his fists and said. His strength alone was very limited. If a large number of experts were sent out, he could be the first to know and then treat them. Vice Hall Master Lan Yao trembled. Fiancé? He had seen the Ice Goddess and Flame Emperor once, but he had never seen them in person because they were wearing armor at that time. Lan Yu was probably the only one who had seen them. However, Lan Yu had told him their names. Song Sui Jing was indeed Ice Lady's name. Only he and Lan Yu knew about this matter. Now that Yi Xian had casually said it, it was enough to prove that Yi Xian was telling the truth. All right, I will immediately send people out to search for her. She was injured by a wood attribute expert, so it's best to find a metal attribute expert to treat her. Lan Yao nodded and quickly walked out of the palace. Even without Yi Xian's relationship, he had to find Yan Di as soon as possible. Otherwise, Judge Song's life would be in danger. Judge Song was injured by a second-grade king. Ordinary people wouldn't be able to treat her. At least a king-level expert would be needed. In the Eastern continent, only the 3 Great Halls and Sword God Palace had Void God Realm kings. The situation was urgent, so Yi Xian didn't even report his strength. At the same time, he went out alone to see if he could find anyone. However, after a few days, they still didn't find anything. Only a few of the Battle King Hall's experts had returned. At the same time, Lan Xian and the others had also returned. However, Lan Yu, Song Sui Jing, and Judge Song were still nowhere to be seen. This caused Yi Xian to wonder if Lan Yu and Song Sui Jing were injured as well, apart from Judge Song. Chapter 644. Betrothal Gifts. At the same time, in a small palace deep within the Champion Hall. Yi Xian and a few others were discussing anxiously. Lan Yao only found out that Yi Xian had broken through to become a Grade 2 dominator. However, it wasn't the time to celebrate. Father, could it be that sister left with the people from the Beast King Hall or the Tool King Hall? Coincidentally, they have a metal element king among them. That's why they suppressed their injuries and went to the other 2 king halls? Lan Xian suddenly guessed. That's right. That's possible. Based on what you saw, the 5 beast kings must have been obstructed. That's why they couldn't catch up to them. Maybe the 3 of them went to the Beast King Hall or the Tool King Hall. Lan Yao nodded. Shen Tulai suddenly thought of something and said, no, metal element chi can only suppress their injuries. If they want to heal them, they need the profound art of rejuvenation. Our Beast King Hall doesn't have a wood element king, so they might have gone to the Tool King Hall. Tool King Hall. This name was special to Yi Xian because the Zhang family was in charge of the Tool King Hall. After hearing Shen Tulai's words, Lan Yao's eyes suddenly lit up. That's right. The Zhang family has a wood element king and he comprehended the profound art of rejuvenation. They must have gone to the Tool King Hall. After he finished speaking, he stood up and said, then, I will go to the Tool King Hall personally. I will go too. Yi Xian also stood up. Yi Xian, your identity is special. It's better if you don't go. Don't worry, I will bring them back. Lan Yao said to Yi Xian. Just as Yi Xian was about to say something, a series of footsteps came from outside the palace. Following that, an elder walked in quickly. Deputy Palace Master, the Zhang family is here, the elder said. Everyone present was shocked by his words. Zhang family? Didn't that mean the Tool King Hall was here? Who is here? Lan Yao asked anxiously. Zhang Wenjing from the Zhang family. The elder replied. Only one person? The elder nodded. Only one person from the Zhang family came. This meant that Lan Yu was still in the Tool King Hall. Let's go. The deputy palace master frowned slightly and led the group out. Lan Yao had heard of Zhang Wenjing before. He was a rank 3 king from the Zhang family, and his strength was extraordinary. He didn't know why he was here today. Was he here to inform the Battle King Hall? Was Lan Yu with them? If it was just a notice, there was no need for a literati from the Zhang family to come. Zhang Wenjing was Zhang Tianjin's father's generation. The elder Wenjing was Zhang Tianjin's was. Very quickly, Lan Yao brought Yi Xian and the others to the palace that received the esteemed guests. Upon hearing the sound of footsteps, that person turned around, cupped his hands together and said, Palace Master Lan, please forgive my sudden visit. B. Zhang Wenjing, how many people from my Battle King Hall are in your Weapon King Hall? Lan Yao asked straightforwardly. Zhang Wenjing smiled and handed over a name list. He said, there are 11 people in total. This is the name list. I don't know about the rest. Lan Yao took the name list and looked at it. His heart trembled. A few people had returned a few days ago. Zhang Wenjing looked at the name list and found that there were only a few people left. Until now, there was still no news about the 2 kings and a few peak empty gods. What about the Flame Emperor? Yi Xian suddenly asked. Zhang Wenjing glanced at Yi Xian and slightly frowned. He felt that Yi Xian looked a little familiar, but after thinking for a moment, he didn't mind and said, that flame attribute brat is heavily injured. Although there are experts from my Artifact King Hall suppressing his injuries along the way, when he arrived at my Artifact King Hall, he was already on the verge of death. However, the great elder of the Tool King Hall suppressed his injuries. He is fine now. It's just that he hasn't been cured yet. Phew. Hearing this, Yi Xian and the others heaved a sigh of relief. What about my sister? Lan Xian asked. She's only slightly injured. Zhang Wenjing smiled and said, Temple Master Lan, your daughters are geniuses. One is of the lightning attribute and the other is of the wind attribute. Not only that, you even took in 2 people of the rare attribute. You flatter me, Lan Yao replied. At that moment, Zhang Wenjing suddenly smiled. Then, he took out an interspatial ring and handed it to Lan Yao. At the same time he said, Palace Master Lan, please take a look. Lan Yao took the interspatial ring and looked at it in surprise. His eyes widened. The interspatial ring contained a large amount of sky treasures. It was a shocking amount. What are you doing? Lan Yao was a little confused. Jiang Wenjing smiled and said, Temple Master Lan, I'm not here to discuss the trip to the wilderness or to report your safety. I'm here to give you betrothal gifts. Betrothal gifts. When these words fell into everyone's ears, their bodies trembled. Betrothal gifts were usually given by the man's family to the woman's family. Could it be that Jiang Wenjing had taken a fancy to the people of the Warlord Hall? No. Lan Yao immediately reacted and rejected the offer. What kind of joke was this? Lan Yu was going to inherit his mantle in the future. How could she marry into the Weapon Emperor Hall? Besides, the Battle Emperor Hall and the Beast Emperor Hall were on the decline, while the Weapon Emperor Hall was improving day by day. If the Weapon Emperor Hall grew stronger, wouldn't it be able to devour the Battle Emperor Hall and the Beast Emperor Hall? Jiang Wenjing grinned. He knew that Lan Yao had misunderstood, thus he immediately explained, No, Temple Master Lan, you've misunderstood. I'm not here for Lan Yu, but for the Ice Goddess. What? The crowd was shocked. He was not here for Lan Yu, but for the Ice Goddess. What do you mean by this? As far as I know, she already has an engagement. Lan Yao glanced at Yi Xian, intentionally or unintentionally. I know that. She's already mentioned it. Your Battle Emperor Hall and my Weapon Emperor Hall have always minded our own business. Although we work together sometimes, our relationship isn't that good. When that kid came to my Weapon Emperor Hall, he was already on the verge of death, so... Jiang Wenjing smiled and did not finish his sentence. So you're taking advantage of the situation? Shen Tu Lai suddenly took a step forward and shouted. Jiang Wenjing looked at him and said, Elder Shen Tu, how can this be considered as taking advantage of the situation? That kid was on the verge of death. If we didn't save him, he would have become a corpse. Besides, the little girl promised us personally. As long as we save that kid, she'll marry Tiancheng. Jiang Tiancheng. This name was not unfamiliar to Lan Yao. Jiang Tiancheng was Jiang Tianjin's younger brother. His aptitude was also very good. He had already broken through to become a second-grade dominator, and had comprehended 2 ultimacies. Chapter 645. Translator, Henyi Translations Editor. Henyi Translation snatched the bride. However, Jiang Wenjing's words made Yi Xian tremble. Song Suijing agreed? How was that possible? He was engaged to Song Suijing, and Song Suijing was his fiancée. How could she marry someone else? Impossible. Kai Jing must have pretended to agree to save the judge. Yi Xian thought to himself. Song Suijing was his fiancée, and he knew that someone like Song Suijing would run away before the wedding, or do something terrible on the wedding day. For example, she could commit suicide. No, I can't let that happen. Yi Xian's eyes suddenly lit up. The King of Weapons Hall was too despicable. They were trying to take advantage of the situation. He could not tolerate that. Even if he had to die, he would not let that happen. Lan Yao and the rest understood the relationship between Yi Xian and the Goddess of Ice. Therefore, they could not watch it happen, especially Shen Tu Lai. Palace Master Lan Yu found the Goddess of Ice when she was traveling. You don't know much about her, do you? She is engaged, but the other party must be from one of the territories under the Warlord Hall. How can such a force be compared to the King of Weapons Hall? Besides, Tiancheng is still single. He fell in love with her at first sight on this trip to the wasteland. The two of them are a perfect match. They are absolutely a match made in heaven. Jiang Wenjing said. No, you saved the Flame Emperor. I will thank you. Lan Yao refused again. Palace Master Lan, do you think we are interested in those gifts? Jiang Wenjing narrowed his eyes. Then what do you want? Lan Yao asked with a gloomy face. Jiang Wenjing smirked and said, We don't want anything. We just want her. Moreover, the girl agreed to it herself. You are not her father. What right do you have to refuse? What did you say? Lan Yao was furious when he heard that. Where was this? The Warlord Hall. This was his territory. However, Jiang Wenjing dared to say such things in his territory. Clearly, he did not respect him. Humph, you heard what I said. Whether you agree or not, we will not stop your daughter from coming back. However, we will not let those 2 people go. Jiang Wenjing said coldly. How dare you? Lan Yao was fuming with rage. Although there were not many people, Jiang Wenjing dared to threaten him in front of so many people. Jiang Wenjing was challenging his authority. Immediately, Lan Yao expanded his metal domain and enveloped the entire palace. His cultivation level was much higher than Jiang Wenjing's. A wave of aura gushed out from his body and pressed down on Jiang Wenjing. Jiang Wenjing immediately felt a stuffy feeling in his chest. He was a little out of breath, but he wasn't afraid in the slightest. He coldly shouted, What? Does Temple Master Lan want to make a move on me? He was Jiang. Was translations. The Jiang family's literary generation had a high status. If Lan Yao made a move on Jiang Wenjing, then the relationship between both parties would be awkward. Most importantly, Lan Yu was still in the Weapon King Hall. At that moment, Shen Tu Lai could not bear to watch any longer. He said, Jiang Wenjing, aren't you going overboard? Elder Shen Tu, you are from the Beast King Hall. Why are you interfering? Jiang Wenjing retorted. Humph, you can use such shameless methods. Why can't I speak? Shen Tu Lai said solemnly. He was able to achieve what he had today because of Yi Chong. Yi Chong could be said to be half his master. Now that Yi Xian was in trouble, how could he just stand by and watch? So what? Could it be that Elder Shen Tu wants to represent the Beast King Hall and oppose this marriage? Jiang Wenjing asked again. Although I, Shen Tu Lai, am not a big shot, I can represent the Beast King Hall this time. I know that the palace master will oppose this marriage. Shen Tu Lai squinted his eyes. After the division of the Beast King Hall, the Beast King Hall and the Battle King Hall had a good relationship. Now that the Weapon King Hall was suppressing them, if the Goddess of Ice were to marry into the Weapon King Hall, wouldn't the Weapon King Hall become stronger? The two King Halls would definitely not agree to it. No matter what, it doesn't matter if you agree to this marriage or not. I, Jiang Wenjing, will pass the message. The big day will be half a month later. If you can come, I will welcome you. If you don't, I will not force you. Farewell. After Jiang Wenjing said those words, he turned around and prepared to leave. My Battle King Hall is not a place where you can come and go as you please. Lan Yao shouted. In the next moment, the door of the palace slammed shut. Jiang Wenjing's expression did not change. Palace Master Lan, if you are worried, feel free to attack me. I, Jiang Wenjing, will accept it. He turned his back to Lan Yao and did not move. He believed that Lan Yao would not dare to attack him. Lan Yao's face darkened as he hesitated in his heart. Yi Xian had only gone to the Great Wasteland once, but he had already broken through from 20% of the Void Transformation stage to the Void God Realm King. Such a genius was rare to come by in 100 years for the Battle King Hall. Even the Ice Girl and the Flame Emperor combined were not even half of Yi Xian's. Most importantly, the Hall Master of the Battle King Hall and Yi Xian's father were good friends, so the Battle King Hall could not help but help. However, the War King Hall's main Hall Master wasn't here right now, so the Tool King Hall targeted this point precisely. That was why they acted so arrogantly, using their power to bully others, taking advantage of the situation. After pondering for a moment, Lan Yao finally made his decision. Previous chapter, next chapter, boom! The door opened. Farewell. The corners of Jiang Wenjing's mouth curled up as he left the Battle King Hall. The palace immediately fell silent. Yi Xian, don't worry. I definitely won't ignore this matter. After Jiang Wenjing left, Lan Yao said to Yi Xian, Thank you, Vice Palace Master. Yi Xian hurriedly thanked him. This matter was probably not something that he could solve alone. If there was a long time, he could go to the Sword God's palace and ask for his father. However, the Battle King Hall was a distance away from the Sword God's palace. By the time Yi Chong arrived, it would be too late. At that time, Song Sui Jing would probably be a corpse. Therefore, he could only rely on the Battle King Hall and the Beast King Hall. My Beast King Hall will also fully support you. This time, we can let Jiang Wenjing leave first. On the day of the wedding, our two halls will pretend to be present, and then... Shen Tu Lai did not continue. Elder Shen Tu, you mean? Lan Yao narrowed his eyes. Snatch the wedding? Lan Xian suddenly said. That's right, snatch the wedding. Chapter 646. Translator, Atlas Studios Editor. Atlas Studios Pulse of the Earth 16 Lan Yao hesitated and nodded. All right, we'll snatch the bride. However, we don't have many Void God Realm Kings in the Eastern mainland. They are all in the chaotic astral ocean. Do we have enough people? What about the Zhang family's great master? Don't worry, Palace Master Lan. The Palace Master values this trip to the wilderness, so he is cultivating in the Beast King Hall while waiting for news, Shin Tu Lai said. All right, with Palace Master Situ's help, we won't have any problems this time. Lan Yao replied. Now they were full of confidence. The main Palace Master of the Beast King Hall was the disciple of one of the Palace Masters of the Sword God Palace. Although he had yet to become a Palace Master, he was more powerful than Lan Yao. Before the King Hall was split, the Zhang family was the backbone. After the split, most of the elders followed them, which was why they were so powerful. However, the Weapon King Hall was not powerful enough to go against both the Beast King Hall and the Battle King Hall. Deputy Palace Master, Elder Shin Tu, thank you. Yi Xian took 2 steps to the side and cupped his fist respectfully. You don't have to do this. Your father has a good relationship with both of our palaces. We can't just sit and watch. Moreover, the Weapon King Hall is too arrogant. They don't even respect me here. If we don't suppress them, the world will think that the Weapon King Hall is in charge of the Eastern mainland. Lan Yao said solemnly. That's right, Yi Xian. Stay here. In half a month, we'll help you get your fiancé back. Shen Tu Lai nodded. However, how could Yi Xian wait for news quietly? Deputy Palace Master, Elder Shin Tu, Kai Jing is my fiancé. I can't not go. Yi Xian said solemnly. Yi Xian knew Song Suijing's character very well. As long as he appeared, Song Suijing might give up on the idea of committing suicide. Therefore he had to go. But Zhang Tianjin already knows your identity. You're like a sheep in a tiger's den. Shen Tu Lai reminded him. Although he was still in the Tianshui mainland when the incident happened, he had heard about it when he came. Back then, Yi Chong and Yi Xian were almost killed by the Zhang family. If it wasn't for Zhang Xinyan's death, they wouldn't have survived. Yi Xian was going to the families. If he was recognized Zhang Tianjin house, wouldn't he be what? Zhang Tianjin is Zhang Tianjin. Zhang Tianjin is Zhang Tianjin. Zhang Tianjin is weird. Zhang Tianjin is weird. Zhang Tianjin is Tianjin. As long as Yi Xian doesn't take out the Bahuang sword, the Zhang family shouldn't recognize it. But he has the Zhang family's bloodline in his body. Shen Tu Lai continued. However, the next moment, he felt a little strange. Yi Xian did indeed have the bloodline of the Zhang family in his body. Why didn't Zhang Wenjing feel it just now? I helped Yi Xian cover up the Zhang family's aura. That's why Zhang Wenjing didn't notice it. When the time comes, we can ask Hall Master Situ for help. Even if the old Master Zhang comes out, he won't be able to sense it. Lan Yao said. The Beast King Hall Master was the same as the Battle King Hall Master. They were both Void God Realm Peak Kings. Zhang Tianjin's father, Zhang Wenyue, and Zhang Xinyan were the only Void God Realm Peak Kings in the Zhang family. Zhang Wenyue and Zhang Xinyan were still in the Sword God Palace. Even if Zhang Wenyue's son, Zhang Tiancheng, got married, he wouldn't come back. After all, Zhang Wenyue had to guard the last level of the Sword God Pagoda. If he came back, Yi Chong would take advantage of the situation. As long as Zhang Wenyue didn't come back, the Zhang family had nothing to fear. As for Zhang Xinyan, she was Yi Xian's mother. If she came back, she would help Yi Xian. However, she was grounded in the Sword God Palace. Before she broke through to the Void God Realm Great Emperor, she couldn't leave the Sword God Palace. This interspatial ring is the betrothal gift from the Weapon King Hall. I will return it to them when the time comes. After Lan Yao finished speaking, he left with Shen Tu Lai. They had to come up with a plan to prevent chaos and bad things from happening. After the two of them left, Lan Xen couldn't help but say, Yi Xian, you don't have to worry. The Weapon King Hall won't be able to defeat the two of us. Yi Xian nodded slightly. He hoped that things would go smoothly. Otherwise, even if he had to die, he would rescue Song Suijing and Adjudicator Song. There was only half a month left. According to his speed, it would take him a few days to fly from the Battle King Hall to the Weapon King Hall. Therefore, he still had a few days to cultivate and see if he could comprehend another ultimacy. When the time came, his strength would increase greatly. In fact, what he wanted to comprehend the most was the gravity ultimacy. As long as his opponent was in his territory, he would be able to make his opponent lose their balance. This was a very useful trump card. When he was fighting with the enemy, his attack trajectory would not hit the enemy. However, when the enemy thought so, he would use the profound meaning of gravity. The enemy would not be able to react in time and would fall instantly. Then they would be hit. This was a super skill for sneaky people. There weren't many kings in the Battle King Hall. According to the Vice Palace Master, most of the kings had gone to the chaotic astral ocean. However, Yi Xian found a grade 3 king who was cultivating in seclusion and begged him to spar with him. This grade 3 king was the previous Vice Palace Master, Lan Yao's father, Lan Shao. Lan Shao had the same metal attribute as Shen Tu Lai and had also comprehended the metal defense. However, he had comprehended the metal slice ultimacy. The metal slice ultimacy was comparable to the wind blade ultimacy. Lan Zhao's defense was strong and his attack wasn't weak either. Therefore, his strength was close to that of a grade 4 king. In the following period of time, Yi Xian kept fighting with him. Only by fighting could he quickly comprehend the ultimacy. Time passed slowly. The big day of the Weapon King Hall was approaching day by day. Yi Xian's pressure was also increasing. Today was the day for the Battle King Hall's people to set off. However, Yi Xian was still fighting with Lan Shao. Boom! The door of a training ground opened. Lan Yao and the others walked in. In the training ground, two figures flashed quickly. "Father, it's time," Lan Yao said respectfully to the golden-armored giant. The two people in the center stopped. The golden-armored giant's golden armor instantly shattered. Inside was a black-robed old man. "Got it." Lan Shao nodded. He looked at the youth and said, "Kid, your aptitude has already surpassed what I know. If little you is compared to you, she's not even worth mentioning. If you calm down, you might have gained more in the next few days." Yi Xian had indeed gained a lot in the past few days of continuous fighting. His earth pulse had evolved from 8 layers to 16 layers. Its power had increased by several times. Chapter 647. Translator, Transin Editor. Transin heading to the Weapon King Hall, Senior is right. Yi Xian nodded respectfully. Indeed, he hadn't been able to calm down for the past few days. However, it was still beyond his expectations that the earth pulse could reach the 16th level. "You've used the ultimacy well. You have a strong grasp of it. I estimate that you're about to comprehend the 2nd level of the ultimacy." Lan Shao evaluated. Yi Xian agreed. However, the ultimacy wasn't a martial skill. His bloodline would increase his comprehension, so he had to rely on himself. "All right, the team is gathered. Let's go." Lan Shao shook off the sweat on his body and walked out. Yi Xian calmed down and followed him. Now, he was finally going to the Weapon King Hall. Moreover, he was going to cause a huge ruckus this time. Many of the Void God Realm Kings from the Battle King Hall had gone to the chaotic astral ocean. However, the leader this time wasn't Lan Shao. Instead, it was the Battle King Hall's Great Elder who had just returned from the chaotic astral ocean. With him around, the Battle King Hall and the Weapon King Hall had a higher chance of winning. The Battle King Hall was quite far from the Weapon King Hall. However, the Battle King Hall's team this time was made up of 8 Void God Realm Kings, including Yi Xian. However, this wasn't the main point. The main point was that the Beast King Hall's main hall master happened to be in the Beast King Hall. He was a rank 9 king. In fact, with Hall Master Situ around, this wedding kidnapping mission was more or less guaranteed. Jiang Tianjin's father, Jiang Wenyue, was able to become a rank 9 king because his teacher was a palace master of the Sword God Palace. On the other hand, the Jiang family's great elder was only a rank 6 king. However, Yi Xian didn't know why, but he was still a little nervous. This time, he would either succeed or die trying. 3 days later, the group arrived at the Weapon King Hall's territory. However, they didn't go to the Weapon King Hall immediately. Instead, they waited for the Beast King Hall's team in a mountain range. "Ha ha ha, Hall Master Lan, long time no see." A haughty laugh rang out. Yi Xian and the others turned around and saw a team of 10 people heading in their direction. "Palace Master Situ, long time no see." Lan Yao hurriedly replied. Situ Outyen was the Beast King Hall's hall master. Before the Beast King Hall was split into two, he was merely an elder. After taking up the position of hall master, he caught the eye of the Sword God Palace's palace master. From then on, his strength skyrocketed. The two groups converged. Situ Outyen flew over and glanced at the surrounding people. In the end, his gaze landed on the first elder of the Warlord Palace. He smiled and said, I didn't expect Elder Shur to also come back. How has the chaotic astral ocean been recently? The Grand Elder Shur he spoke of was the Grand Elder of the Warlord Hall, Shur Yonghao. It's not peaceful. The three major powers are in conflict again. The Great Elder of the Warlord Hall shook his head. All right, let's not talk about this for now. Situ Outyen then turned his attention to Yi Xian. You must be Yi Chong and Jiang Xinyan's son. Although I don't know your parents, I know Duan Mu Yun. You can say that I know her indirectly. Now, Yi Xian also understood that Duan Mu Yun was the hall master of the Warlord Hall, a peak Void God Realm King. At the same time, she was also the disciple of one of the palace masters of the Sword God Palace. It was her who had healed Yi Chong every time. Otherwise, Yi Chong wouldn't have been able to hold on. This time with Hall Master Situ here, the Zhang family won't be able to cause any trouble. Lan Yao said with a smile. Who was Situ Outyen? He was a peak Void God Realm King who was only one step away from the Void God Realm Great Emperor. The Zhang family indeed had many experts, but Situ Outyen alone was enough to intimidate the entire Zhang family. That might not be the case. Zhang Tiancheng is Zhang Wenyue's son. Although Zhang Wenyue is still in the Sword God Palace, he might ask his martial brothers to come over. This time it won't be so easy. Situ Outyen shook his head and said, Zhang Wenyue's martial brothers? Everyone raised their eyebrows. Zhang Wenyue was already the palace master of the Sword God Palace, and his strength was even stronger than Situ Outyen. His martial brothers would at least be level 8 kings, level 9 kings, or even Void God Realm Great Emperors. If there was only one of them, it would be fine. However, if there were two of them it would be troublesome. At that moment, Yi Xian was the most upset. His fiancée was being threatened, and he had no choice but to rely on others. This feeling was too unbearable. His aptitude was good, but he was too young. What he lacked was time. If he was given 1 or 2 more years, he was confident that he could defeat the entire King Tool Palace. Situ Outyen saw Yi Xian's expression and said, Don't worry, Duan Mu Yun has already left the Sword God Palace. He might be here later. Hearing this, Yi Xian's eyes lit up. Duan Mu Yun was Yi Chong's good friend. If he was here, he would definitely help. All right, let's discuss the countermeasures first. Situ Outyen didn't let his guard down just because he was strong. This time, the marriage snatching operation wasn't only for Yi Xian, but also for the sake of slapping the face of the Tool King Hall. If they failed, they would be humiliated. They couldn't afford to lose face. If Zhang Wenyue's martial brothers come, I will hold them back. However, at that time, Elder Shur and Palace Master Lan will have to hold them back. After that, Elder Feng will find an opportunity to get close to the brides and forcefully take them away with lightning speed. This was Situ Outyen's plan. The Elder Feng he mentioned was a rank 4 king from the Beast King Palace. He was of the wind attribute like Lan Xian, and he had also comprehended the wind acceleration profound. His speed was second only to Situ Outyen among those present. More than 10 kings were discussing, and Yi Xian was among them, carefully listening to the plan. He wasn't weak either, and he could be ranked in the middle among these people. Therefore, he could still be of help. After a while, both sides finished their plan. Yi Xian, you will enter with the Beast King Palace's team later. With my help, the Zhang family won't be able to sense your bloodline. Even if Zhang Wenyue's martial brothers come, they won't be able to sense it since they aren't from the Zhang family, Situ Outyen said to Yi Xian. But Yi Xian suddenly thought of a problem. However, before he could finish, Shen Tulai continued. Don't worry. When Zhang Wenjing came last time, I was there too. They won't know that you are from the Battle King Palace. You just have to pretend to be my disciple later. All right. Yi Xian nodded. This plan could be considered perfect, but he didn't know if it would go so smoothly. After that, The two teams entered the King Tool Palace one after another. The Battle King Palace's team entered first, and after half a day, Yi Xian followed the Beast King Palace's team. Yi Xian, wait for instructions. Don't act on your own, Shin Tu Lai reminded him softly. I will. Chapter 648. Translator, Transin Editor. Transin Action. Soon, the 11 people from the Beast King Hall entered the Weapon King Hall. Ha ha ha, I didn't expect Hall Master Situ to come as well. The Jiang Wenjing from that day suddenly appeared. How can I not come for such a joyous occasion? Situ Outyen grinned. Come this way please. Jiang Wenjing quickly received the 11 people. Elder Jiang, have Hall Master Lan and the rest arrived? Shen Tu Lai suddenly asked. Jiang Wenjing nodded. Yes. I have arranged their accommodations. By the time Yi Xian and the rest entered, it was already evening. The next day would be the big day of the Weapon King Hall. Soon, Jiang Wenjing arranged accommodations for Situ Outyen and the rest. Elder Jiang, where are the people from the Battle King Hall staying? Situ Outyen asked. Hall Master Situ, they are just opposite. Jiang Wenjing left after he finished speaking. Although Jiang Wenyue wasn't the Hall Master, he was a peak king of the Empty God realm. His position in the Jiang family was the highest. Therefore, Jiang Tiancheng's wedding was naturally grand. Apart from the Battle King Hall and the Beast King Hall, there were many other guests who were coming. Therefore, Jiang Wenjing had to attend to them. After he left, Situ Outyen and the rest knocked on the door of the opposite palace. The people from the Battle King Hall had arrived half a day earlier and had been waiting for a long time. However, there were more than 10 people in the Battle King Hall. He is Yi Xian. Lan Yao led a lady in blue over. The lady in blue was the young hall master of the Battle King Hall, Lan Yu. She was about 25 years old and was tall. She had a pretty face and was considered a beauty. However, there was a trace of guilt on her face as she said, I am sorry. I am the one who got them into trouble. If he had not brought Song Sui Jing and Judge Song into the wilderness, things would not have turned out this way. How is Sui Jing now? Yi Xian asked. She is fine. However, there is a grade 3 king watching over her. Even I don't know where he is. As for Judge Song, his injuries have stabilized. If he can't be cured, it will be difficult for him to cultivate in the future. Lan Yu replied. Level 3 king level. Yi Xian narrowed his eyes. If they knew the location of Song Sui Jing, they could make a move tonight. However, they did not know. This Weapon King Hall is really going too far. Ice Maiden is a member of my Battle King Hall, and even I can't see her. Tomorrow, we must teach them a good lesson. Lan Yao said angrily. Then can I see Judge? Yi Xian asked again. Sure, come with me. Lan Yu nodded. TSK. TSK. Dual Yin Yang physique. I'll go take a look too. Situ Outyen's interest was piqued. Not only that, but he also followed quite a few people. After all, there hadn't been many fire attribute geniuses in the history of the Imperial Palace. Adjudicator Song's aptitude was also very good, but because he was seriously injured, even rejuvenation could only heal a little. If he wanted to fully recover, he would need some heavenly treasures. Therefore, he was not chosen by the Tool King Hall. It was also because of this that no one was guarding him. Boom! The door of a small palace opened. This was the residence of Adjudicator Song. Saijue Song, who was cultivating inside, also stopped when he saw Lan Yu enter. Young lord. Yi Xian? When Adjudicator Song saw Yi Xian behind Lan Yu, his body shook and he quickly stepped forward. Adjudicator Song quickly walked over and patted Yi Xian's shoulder as he asked in astonishment, Yi Xian, why are you here? After more than a year, the two met again, so it was inevitable that they would be a bit emotional. Yi Xian's mood was the same when he saw Song Ju. He sized him up and asked, Judge, how are your injuries? My injuries have healed, but my sister actually agreed to marry that Jiang Tiancheng for my sake. Yi Xian, I'm sorry. Adjudicator Song's eyes turned red. At this time, he only hated that he wasn't strong enough to protect Song Sui Jing. I already know about this matter. This time, I'm here to rescue you and Adjudicator Song. Can you see Adjudicator Song now? My sister is guarded by a 3rd-grade king. Others can't, but I might be able to. Adjudicator Song nodded. Although the Tool King Hall didn't allow Lan Yu to enter, Adjudicator Song was still Song Suijing's brother, so the chances of success were higher. Then you go now and tell her about this matter. When she comes out tomorrow, I will quickly bring you guys away. Elder Feng of the Beast King Hall said. All right, I'll go now. Adjudicator Song nodded. Wait. Situ Outyen suddenly stopped Adjudicator Song and said, if we know the little girl's location, we can take action tonight. All right. Adjudicator Song's eyes lit up as he quickly left. As for Yi Xian and the others, they stayed behind and waited. Including Lan Yu and the others, they had more than 20 Void God Realm Kings. As for the Tool King Hall, there were only 10 Void God Realm Kings. Most of them went to the chaotic astral ocean like the Battle King Hall and Beast King Hall. Soon, Adjudicator Song returned. Yi Xian, I saw my sister. I told her everything. Her position is. Song Ju ran over with a silly smile on his face. All right, since we know her location, let's take action now. Situ Outyen glanced at the surrounding people. Although the two King Halls wanted to slap the Tool King Hall's face this time, it would be a great slap if they could snatch the new year on the wedding day. However, there might be some changes tomorrow, so they felt that it was better to be safe and take action tonight. Kid, you lead the way and I'll quickly rescue her. Then we'll leave. Situ Outyen said to Adjudicator Song. All right, many thanks, Senior. Adjudicator Song's eyes lit up. Although he didn't know Situ Outyen, he knew that Situ Outyen was at least a 4th grade Void God Realm King since he dared to rescue Lan Yu alone. Since that's the case, we'll wait here. Once she arrives, we'll leave immediately. Lan Yao replied. Then, Situ Outyen patted Adjudicator Song's shoulder and left. This speed had exceeded everyone's reaction. After all, Situ Outyen was a Void God Realm King. Adjudicator Song only felt his body become weightless as his vision turned dark. This meant that his current speed had exceeded his senses. Just now, he had reported Song Suijing's location. Although there were people on the way, they were only peak Void God Realm Kings. Situ Outyen was a peak Void God Realm King. Even Lan Yao and Elder Feng couldn't react to his speed, let alone these people. Pa! Situ Outyen's figure suddenly stopped. In front of him was a heavily guarded palace. Even if Adjudicator Song didn't say it, Situ Outyen knew that this was Song Suijing's room. Chapter 649. Meet who's there? The two guards at the entrance shouted. You dare to shout at me when you're merely in the Void God realm? Situ Outyen glared at them and in the next moment, the two guards fainted. Situ Outyen's aura alone was enough to knock them out. Back then, Jiang Tianjin had relied on the difference in their cultivation to intimidate Yi Xian and the others. Where's the 3rd grade king? Situ Outyen asked. He's in the palace. Judge Song replied. Bang! Before Judge Song's voice could fade away, the palace's door burst open. Until now, Judge Song still didn't know what attributes Situ Outyen possessed. How dare you? An old man walked out. An old man walked out. When he saw Situ Outyen's face, he was stunned. He cried out, Hall Master Situ? Palace Master. After hearing the name, Judge Song finally realized who the person beside him was. It was actually the Palace Master of the Beast King Palace. A peak Void God Realm King. My apologies. Situ Outyen smiled coldly and in the next moment, the old man's body went limp. Judge Song, on the other hand, didn't feel any discomfort. Situ Outyen's aura alone was enough to knock a 3rd grade king out. This was the strength of a 9th grade king. After that, Situ Outyen brought Saiju Song into the palace. The small palace was beautifully decorated and in a small room, Song Suijing sat quietly on a bed, wearing a white robe. Sister! Suddenly, a familiar voice sounded. Song Suijing raised her head and was startled when she saw Judge Song in front of her. Brother, why are you? Don't say anything, let's go. Situ Outyen said and grabbed Song Suijing's arm and rushed out of the palace. In less than 10 seconds, they had returned to Judge Song's residence. Judge Song. Yi Xian, who was waiting inside, immediately rushed forward when he saw the three of them. Yi Xian. Song Suijing finally couldn't hold it in anymore and burst into tears. She threw herself into Yi Xian's arms. After more than a year, the two of them finally met again. During this time, Yi Xian had encountered countless life and death crises, but he had survived them all. This was his faith. It's all right now. We'll leave in a bit. Yi Xian gently stroked Song Suijing's hair and whispered into her ear. Everyone present watched silently. No one made a sound. They just watched quietly, not wanting to disturb. After a long time, Yi Xian separated from Song Suijing. The former looked around and said, Hallmaster Situ Seniors, Yi Xian thanks you all. Hey, don't thank me yet. We haven't left yet. I've only just returned half a favor, Situ Aotion said with a smile. Half a favor? Yi Xian was stunned. I owe Duanmu Yun a favor. I'll only return it after I get all of you out of here, Situ Aotion replied. Yi Xian understood. Shen Tulai said, All right, let's leave before the Weapon King Hall finds out. Although we can't slap them in the face, saving people is more important. At this moment, Lan Yao suddenly suggested, Why don't we split into two groups? One group will take Yi Xian and the others away, and the other group will cause a ruckus? Good idea. The Weapon King Hall is too arrogant. They don't respect our two halls at all. They just casually dealt with the Great Wilderness team this time. Cause a ruckus. Otherwise, the world will think that there's only one Weapon King Hall in the Eastern continent. I agree. The elders of the two king palaces were yelling at the same time. Don't be hasty. Situ Aotion suddenly said, When I went to save people, I didn't see many people along the way. It was empty, so I feel that the Weapon King Hall should have known that we would do this. What? Everyone raised their eyebrows. The Weapon King Hall knew that they were going to rob the wedding? Could there be a traitor? However, the Weapon King Hall was not stupid. The Zhang family was the backbone of the Hall Masters. It was the biggest power in the Hall Masters. There were many capable people, so it was reasonable for them to have guessed it. Let's go. We'll know whether it's true or not. We have so many people, so we're not afraid of them. Situ Aotion led everyone out of the palace. Yi Xian, Song Suijing, and Adjudicator Song were in the group. Now they had to leave. If there was really an ambush, they would have to fight to the death. Otherwise, they would be able to leave safely. The group of experts began to run wildly toward the entrance of the Weapon King Hall. After running for a while, they did not see anyone from the Weapon King Hall. It seemed that there was indeed an ambush. Humph. I'm afraid this wedding is just a cover. Their purpose is to gather us together. Situ Aotion suddenly stopped. Could it be that the Weapon King Hall wants to catch all of us in one fell swoop? And then take over the two Hall Masters? Lan Yao's heart skipped a beat. The Weapon King Hall, the Warlord Hall, and the Beast King Hall were the three superpowers after the Hall Masters were split up. The Weapon King Hall was the most powerful among them. Once they were defeated, the Weapon King Hall would become the overlord of the Eastern continent. They could unite and rebuild the glory of the Weapon King Hall. However, the Zhang family would be in charge of the Weapon King Hall in the future. No, their target might only be you and me. Situ Aotion shook his head. Lan Yao was confused. He asked, Only the two of us? In the next moment he understood. Situ Aotion was the main Hall Master of the Beast King Hall, and he was the Deputy Hall Master of the Warlord Hall. Both of them were Hall Masters, so there must be some secrets between them. As for the others, they were confused as well. They did not know what the two Hall Masters were talking about. Let's go and take a look. Situ Aotion began to run again. In the group of the two Hall Masters, the stronger one was Situ Aotion, who was a grade 9 king. The weaker one was only a peak empty god. However, there were a few hundred people waiting outside of the Weapon King Hall. When Situ Aotion ran out of the Weapon King Hall, he saw a large group of people standing in the night sky. They were the experts from the Weapon King Hall. Hall Master Situ, you are finally out. A Zhang family member walked out. It was Zhang Wenjing. When Yi Xian and the others saw the scene, they were shocked. It was indeed an ambush. How could this be? Song Suijing was shocked. Ho ho, it is indeed so. Situ Aotion walked out and asked, Zhang Wenjing, what do you want to do today? Zhang Wenjing smiled. We don't want to do anything. As long as Hall Master Situ and Hall Master Lan hand over something each, you can leave today. What is it? Lan Yao could not help but ask. Although he already had a rough idea of what was going on, he did not know what was going on.